If you're watching the VOD, feel free to skip 2 minutes or so while I set things up. I don't think the volume was actually on that whole time, but now it is. Your channel. Okay. Got chat pulled up. Yuri time. That's gonna be my announcement. How come it never shows my thumbnail when I do that? That is so BS. Whatevs. Alright, got a few more things that I want to tinker with before I officially begin. And it's always very low pressure to actually start these streams, since the whole stream is just reading anyway. It's like, you're not missing out on any real action. Just a lot of reading. I should probably make a playlist for Seabed later if I haven't already. Yuri visual novel. Adding tags. Just in case that helps for people to find this amazing content. Alright, so that's set up. I think that's good enough preparation for now. Alright, nobody's in chat yet. Feels bad, man. Well, to be fair, I did start at a awkward time. Usually I start earlier. But that's cool, that's cool. Okay, let me put this out my way. On the weekend, I spent most of the afternoon finishing up my laundry. My workload had halved compared to how things used to be, so I could now use the extra space on the veranda to hang the futon as well. Hold on, let me... Elgato volume, I feel like, isn't... I don't know, is it not on? As I began dusting it off, I heard the exact same sound of someone hammering on their futon in the distance. The middle-aged forecaster on TV claimed the weather would remain clear until tomorrow night. As I finished hanging my laundry, I moved to the kitchen and began preparing today's lunch. Forgot Ami Ami sells games, never look at them since they're all Japanese versions. Yeah, but sometimes the Japanese versions have like the English subs. I think sometimes they even could have English dub. Plus they're region free, so it's always worth a look, honestly. Because right now they have the freaking Little Witch No Beta Collector's Edition of Ami Ami for 75 bucks. 75 bucks, my dude. You get the game, the art book, the soundtrack, a tapestry. Apparently they have 2 different tapestries posters, and the autographed script. So, I don't know, man. I'm kind of pissed that I spent like twice that amount, and now it's like half price. I'm like, bro, I should have. I mean, who is supposed to know? How was I supposed to know that Ami Ami sold it? Cause I usually when I price compare, I check Amazon, eBay, and Play Asia for physical games. I didn't know Ami Ami sold games. I thought they just sold figures and like merch, like keychains and stuff, you know? But yeah, apparently it's $75 now once you do the conversion from yen to other currencies. And yeah, I highly recommend buying it if you're interested, if you have a Switch or whatever. It might be also PS4. But yeah, it's a steal, man. It's a steal. I hadn't been to a supermarket lately, so all I had in the fridge was Chinese cabbage, some poultry, and onions. I had bought a 1/4 cut of the cabbage, and by now only about a third of that was still left. With no eggs left, I had to give up on making oyakodon. Oh damn, dude, they're making oyakodon. That's the best freaking Japanese dish. How's your day going, Saru? I splashed some water and oil into the frying pan, followed by a few pieces of cabbage, onion, and poultry. As the onions began to lose their shape, I added some leftover udon I found in the freezer. Bro, udon? What? Bro, how much food is she making? Oyakodon and udon? I just had udon. I posted it in my Discord. I made lunch from throwing random things together, but it turned out better than expected. I ate it while watching TV. On my way to do some shopping, I dropped by the library to return the books I borrowed. It was a municipally owned establishment, but probably because of the location, there was barely anyone inside despite it being the weekend. Back in the countryside where I grew up, all the libraries would be filled with school children on days like this. To the point you had to really struggle to find an empty seat. There seemed to be slightly more people around compared to my previous visit, but it was still nothing compared to what I'd been used to. It's going alright. Play Pokemon all day, just want to chill. Pokemon Scarlet or Violet. On the right hand side from the entrance, a separate space was set up for children. It had a small bookshelf lined with various picture books. They were the same fairy tales I used to read as a child. A story about a penguin traveling around the world on a patch of ice. Another story about a cat that loved quizzes. How'd the restaurant you went to? Well, I've been there quite a few times, so let me tell you, they're 10 out of 10 no matter what you get. I've gotten chicken katsu from there, 10 out of 10. I've gotten the duck salad from there, 10 out of 10. Now I got the udon soup from there, 10 out of 10. No matter what they make, guaranteed perfect score. They're so good, my dude. It's hard to find restaurants like that too, man. So I'm very happy that I discovered them. Violet just caught my first shiny of the game. Ooh, which Pokemon is it? A story about a penguin traveling around the world on a patch of ice. Another story about a cat that loved quizzes. Moved to the left side of the entrance, where a bunch of tables were lined up next to a set of large windows that made the spot ideal for reading. Not only were all the normal seats empty, there wasn't anyone using the lavish and comfortable looking sofa either. A poster for the local neighborhood association decorated the side of one of the bigger shelves, making it visible even from the reading room. As I wandered into the psychology section, I spotted the librarian who printed my card. I made a bow, which upon noticing me, she returned the bow with her own. She seemed to be in the middle of arranging books, holding the map of the library in one hand. I was about to pass by her when she suddenly addressed me. You're the same person I made that membership card for the other day, right? Did the books you borrowed prove to be of any help? Bro, GU. This guy asked me breast or thigh. You know, being me a gentleman, I said personality? You made the right choice, XYZ. You make me proud. Shiny was a Swablu. And yeah, it's great to find a restaurant like that. Swablu is the one... No, I'm thinking about Altaria. The one that's like a cloud, right? A bird cloud. Swablu, is that the form before Altaria? Yeah, it is. Damn, I'm smart. I remember shit. I think that's Hoenn. Alright, I remember things. And then he looked at me and he was confused and then said, just order one or both. If I can't decide. Bam, that reminds me of today. So I went to GameStop today. Because, you know, they have sales and shit. Black Friday. And the guy was like, do you want protection for your games? And, you know, me being a gentleman, I was gonna say, bro, I don't even use protection when I fuck. But, you know, me being a gentleman, I didn't say anything. I just smiled and said, no thank you. And I went on with my purchase. So the sale was... Apparently the sales on the GameStop website weren't the same as the sales at this physical location. Because I had told Saru that Melody of Memories was $10 on the GameStop website. And it turns out that wasn't the case at the physical location of GameStop. However, they did have a sale where it was buy 2 PlayStation 4 games, get 1 free. So, I ended up buying 13 Aegis Sentinels, I believe it's called. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that game, or the title at least. I bought Black Clover. I was like, fuck it. You know, there aren't many options for games that I would want here, I'll just get Black Clover. And I got Melody of Memories. So altogether, it ended up being like, it was $50. So it was like being $15 each, which means, let's pretend they were $15 each, because, you know, if you divide the price, that's what it came out to. If they're $15 each, then I got Black Clover for the regular price. I got Melody of Memories $5 cheaper, and I got Sentinels like $12 cheaper. So I still saved some money. It was still a decent deal. So yeah, not bad. Fuck it. You're the same person I made that membership card for the other day, right? Did the books you borrowed prove to be of any help? I didn't expect you to call out to me like that, but after a few moments of startled silence, I answered that they did. Tell you the truth, most of the books from that section are a bit on the old side. But since someone finally borrowed some of them, I could use it as an excuse to order newer editions. After placing the books, she'd been holding back to their respective ledges. She pointed at the shelf where the volumes I borrowed were originally from. It did seem like there were a few more books there than before. Judging from the titles, they were mainly focused on hypnotic therapy and the workings of the brain. Saying that she thought I might be interested, the librarian gave me another bow and left. I spent a few minutes looking over those new books. However, no matter which one I checked, I wasn't able to focus on them. In the end, I left the library without borrowing anything. I ran into the librarian on my way back. As I made a curt bow, she once again returned it with her own. If you ever need to look up anything else, don't hesitate to ask. Did you guys do any like Black Friday shopping or anything this weekend? And with that, we parted ways. So, I wasn't able to log into my other account, so here I am on my alt. Oh god, who are you? Is that you, Kos? I placed the toothbrush back into its cup, washing out the last remnants of toothpaste from my mouth with some ice-cold tap water. Sorry, I awarded you your 1,000 points for commenting on my latest YouTube video. So just in case you're interested, Streamlabs has you at 5,050 points now. Shaking my head. Come on, Kos. It's me. Crayons. Bro, Crayons. It's so good to see you. We've been hearing a lot about you lately, brother. Welcome back to the gang. When I returned to the living room, the morning news was on. You, points. I still have to add Azure's Nico GU in a maid outfit reward to the loyalty store. Wait, but how do we know it's you? Also, my iPad broke and I'm on my phone. How did your iPad break? As I looked outside through the veranda, I saw large gray clouds blanketing the sky. I snagged the glass from the kitchen cupboard, filled it up with water, then used it to water the plants I kept outside. As it had been a while since it rained, the dry soil absorbed the water right away. Can you prove that you're Azure? Tell me. Azure is a loyal Nico GU fan who would watch every video that I post. So if you're truly Azure, tell me what was your favorite part of my most recently posted YouTube video, which I posted this morning. I didn't break my phone, only my iPad. Bro, you brought Black Clover, whole series? Bro, the Black Clover video game, bro. The search for the 2 missing Japanese citizens is still ongoing. Turning my attention to the TV, I noticed the news reporting on a boat accident that happened somewhere in the Southern Islands. Oh, is this about Takako? The announcer began describing the event in detail. I picked up the remote control from the table and changed the channel. No, don't change the channel, you piece of... It's probably about you and Takako. After finding a channel with the weather forecast, I upped the volume. Cloudy with a chance of rain, or so they said. Bro, why does she have to do this? I pressed my train pass against the ticket gate, and once the machine successfully recognized it, descended the stairs to the train platform. Only a few people were there this early in the morning. It would be a while until the place began to really fill up with people, to the point they'd have to delay trains. That, by the way, was quite the common occurrence on Mondays. I bought Cyberpunk 2077, Death Stranding. I did buy Death Stranding XYZ since you highly recommended it. Doom 2016, and I might buy another game for $5. What's the other game? So how do you want me to give proof of Azure? Prove it. How? I told you how to prove it. What was your favorite part of the most recent Nico GU video that was posted just this morning? Bro, if you can't even answer that question, how are we supposed to believe that you're Azure? My train arrived as I was absentmindedly gazing at the unchanging signboard. I claimed an empty seat near the edge of the car. But with nothing else to do, I decided to look through the advertisement inside the train car. One ad posted on the wall advertised coffee, while the other gave the details of some sort of anti-diarrhea medicine. Both were the same as last week. Next up were the posters hanging from the ceiling. Spotted one of the weekly magazines going on about recent news on politics as well as celebrity life. The two missing Japanese citizens I'd heard about on the news were mentioned too. I hate Mondays. Same here. Two young men in suits sitting a bit farther away from me were having a conversation. Spent all weekend having some much needed fun. And I still have a bunch of unfinished work left over from Friday. Feels like it's going to be ages until my next day off. The train slowly came to a halt, stopping at the station closest to my office. Even the neon lights beyond the window were starting to go out. It had been a while since I heard the last car go by. Any plans for your vacation? Fumi addressed me as I was typing out a report. Not much. I'll be going back to my parents' house. Yunukai joined the conversation. I wasn't asking you. Fumi spoke up in a cheeky tone as her fingers continued tapping away the keyboard. I see. Yunukai let out a faint snort and returned to his own work. I was planning to take a trip to the hot springs this year. Would you like to go together? A trip to the hot springs? I transferred the finished report's data to the printer. Most of the documents from the mountain of papers on my desk were now fully checked, revised, and logged. I think we'll be able to start our vacation early if we continue at this pace. Are you sure it's okay? Inukai was seemingly startled by Fumi's question. Well, we've already cleared all our main goals for the end of the year. The rest depends on how soon you can finish the individual tasks you still have left. Awesome. Fumi briskly returned to work with a broad smile on her face. Inukai too began to type at a seemingly faster pace. Don't forget to submit the necessary documentation if you decide to make any changes to the date of your vacation. I heard a quick course and an understood in response. As I glanced at the monitor displaying everyone's vacation details, I suddenly realized that the document had an attendance record tab. I clicked on it. Finding the entry for Mizuno Sachiko, I scrolled down to the records dating back to around a year ago. The last trip I remember taking seemed to be the one where I combined 3 holidays and 2 days of paid leave to be able to leave for a whole week. I clicked the send button and had my email finally transferred to the clients. Playing my hand on the back of my neck, I gave it a light crack. After that, I leaned against the chair with all my weight. I'll be going then. Inukai fixed his necktie and opened the door, his eyes almost completely drained of life. Thank you for your work today. Inukai nodded and left the room. The round clock on the wall indicated that it was around midnight. With Inukai gone, the office became emptier. The sound of the lightly pattering rain against the window felt louder than before. It had been continuously raining for the past few days, and even though it momentarily let up around noon earlier today, it resumed again as soon as the evening came. I could see the raindrops outside, illuminated by the glow of the office. They came pouring down from the black skies above, only to melt into the darkness below. Everybody went quiet because you haven't proven you're the true Azure. We need our proof. How can we trust your words? Also, guys, let me take a break, like a 2-minute break, because I want to do something real quick. Maybe get some water. In the meantime, we can all harass Azure. What have you been up to today, Azure and XYZ? Saru said he's been playing Pokemon all day. He caught a shiny Swablu. And I went to the Japanese restaurant. I really love Bon, yeah, that's my proof. That doesn't mean anything. That just means you're a freaking Seven Deadly Sins fan. There was actually a girl, and at my job, I'm trying to think of which girl it was. No, I don't remember. But there was a girl at my job, a 5th grade girl, who was all like, oh, when I was young, I used to have a crush on Bon from Seven Deadly Sins. I was so stupid. And I'm like, bro, you probably still have a crush on him. Like, what the fuck? It was like mad random, though. It's like, oh, when I was young, but I don't anymore. It's like, yeah, right. Whatever. Okay, I am back. I'm talking about a real person, GU. Yeah, sure. We all believe you have real friends, Azure. No big deal. Death Stranding all day? Damn, dude. How many hours do you have in that game? GU giving head? Bro. This is how I know you're a fake Azure. The real Azure would never say such slanderous profanities in my chat. Fumi suddenly stood up from her chair, walked to the door, and turned to me. I'll go grab a drink. Want me to bring you back something as well? Just a coffee, please. After a nod, Fumi left the room and headed for the vending machine. Once I'd seen her off, I closed my eyes and began to stretch my muscles a bit. As I swallowed by the darkness of my closed eyelids, it felt almost like the only thing that existed outside was the rain itself. At my side of the table, there were silver tableware and a neatly folded napkin adorned with a checked pattern, just like yesterday. Jeez. Fumi returned to the office and violently pulled out one of her drawers. What's wrong? Takiko, who sat in the seat right in front of her, observed the whole spectacle. Fumi placed a 100 yen coin on the desk. It won't fit into the vending machine. Ah, that happens sometimes, yeah. Takiko stood up, picked up the coin from the desk, and gave it a closer look. Oh, that's a pretty old coin. This guy's been around since before I was even born. She shifted her gaze to Fumi. Is that how you appreciate your progenitors? Ignoring Takako, Fumi opened her purse. It was already around before we existed. Yet you denounced it just because it won't fit into one of your fancy vending machines. I couldn't help but chuckle at Takako's characteristically random antics. Is something the matter? Fumi gave me a glance. So if you pay attention to like how they wove together Fumi's dialogue with Takako's, the one sentence that Fumi said in between that was something that someone would like say out loud to themselves. Like, why isn't this coin working? That's something you might say to, yourself out loud, a rhetorical question that you don't expect an answer for. So, it's kind of like Sachiko sees these interactions, right, as Takako conversing with someone. But in reality, it's just somebody thinking out loud to themselves. And Takako's sort of soliloquy being inserted around that. It's not really a conversation. Or at least that's what I seem to be noticing at this point, at least. And then Takako fades again. I blinked, and just like that, Takako, along with everyone on her desk, everything on her desk, as well as that ancient 100 yen coin, vanished without a trace. It's nothing. Really? I said that yesterday. I'm the real Azure, please. No, you didn't. Azure said that yesterday. Not you. I am Azure, though. Right now, I have 14 hours in Death Stranding. LOL. Yeah, it gotta be Azure since they type in caps. Bro, what? But XYZ also typed LOL in caps. So maybe XYZ is also Azure, bro. Bro, this is scary stuff, bro. The canned coffee she handed me was the one I usually brought from our vending machine. Thank you. As I took it off her hands, Fumi walked to her locker and pulled out her jacket. I placed my finger on the still warm can's pull tab, but quickly changed my mind, choosing instead to put it away into my bag. My computer finished shutting down with a low whir. You've already missed the last train. Want me to give you a lift? Fumi turned to me after closing her locker. No need. I'll ride a cab home. Just as I was about to stand up, a sudden onset of dizziness assaulted me. I leaned against my desk with both hands. Is something wrong? I'm just a little anemic. Fumi considered me for a few moments with her hand on her locker's door before closing it. I'm kind of worried, so I'd rather drive you myself. I'll go get the car from the parking lot, so come down in 2 or 3 minutes if you can. She then left the office before I could say anything. Sitting back in my chair, I pressed my palms against my temples. I felt somewhat better afterwards. I then opened my bag and took out the canned coffee from earlier. Oh, I ain't XYZ. Bro. I can't believe you've reached a point where your love for XYZ is so strong that you want to be him. That's kind of romantic. No, I typed LL because I already have 14 hours in Death Stranding. That doesn't seem like a lot. It seems like you've only been playing for like half a day, bro. Like you just started playing this morning, basically. After locking the office door, I tossed the empty can into the trash bin next to our old vending machine. I left the building about 3 minutes after Fumi. After spotting a smallish car in front of the entrance, I climbed inside and sat down in the front seat. Welcome. I closed the door. Thanks. No problem. Fumi's car was a hatchback type that didn't separate the interior from the trunk, making it more spacious on the inside than one would think from a mere glance. You know what? My grandpa, when I was really little, he had one of those hatchbacks with where you could see everything in the trunk from the back seat. It wasn't separate. And you know what? I kind of did like it. That was like my favorite car that he had. Fumi leaned forward in her seat and began adjusting the position of the back mirror, sticking her lips out in a funny way. Where did your glasses go? Don't worry, those were fake anyway. Really? I fastened my seatbelt with a sharp click. As the car in the back mirror passed by, Fumi placed her right elbow on the doorknob to her side and stepped on the gas. You all are something. Dang. Bro, I don't like XYZ. I don't know, man. So what would you call this then? Hero worship? Is he your hero? I'm wearing contacts, so it's okay. So you wear fake glasses over your contacts? Yes. I wear fake glasses over my contacts? Why? Why would someone do that? Just wear real glasses, no contacts. I had no idea. I chuckled. My sister gave me the frame as a birthday present, but it didn't have lenses. I mean, those things are really expensive, right? But you don't need to wear them just because of that. Fumi tapped the storage compartment in front of me. Makeup's less of a hassle this way. I see. I saw you wearing glasses when you read books. Are you farsighted or something? My eyes are fine. I wear the glasses so they don't get worse, actually. Seemed like people wore glasses for all sorts of reasons. Fumi pressed the small lever to the left of the wheel. The wipers going up and down on the front window increased in speed. It's raining pretty hard today. The forecast said it'll clear up by tomorrow, but I'm wondering if it really will. The rain had been growing gradually stronger since we left the office. The water running down the windshield looked almost like a waterfall with a new stream blocking our sight no matter how hard the wipers struggled. A ray of light suddenly pierced the sky. Was that lightning? The sound of thunder reached us around the same time Fumi said that. Seems so. Suppose the rain won't be stopping anytime soon. As I narrowed my eyes and peered into the darkened sky stretching above the few city lights that still endured, its canvas looked almost like a large, wriggling snake. I'd rather kiss the floor rather than being with XYZ. Do it. Prove it. Kiss the floor right now. And send pics in the Discord. Just blur out your face though, because, you know, we don't need the face reveal. Maintain your privacy, but still, show proof. You look tired. For a moment, I almost thought I was back in Narasaki's clinic, but it was just Fumi addressing me as I absentmindedly gazed at the drifting clouds. In my mind's eye, I imagined the two standing next to each other and chuckled at the thought of how different they were. Did I say something funny? I've heard someone else say the same thing, that's all. Smiling, Fumi responded with, well, it's the end of the year. She seemed to have cheered up after hearing me chuckle, but we still couldn't find a common topic to discuss. The raindrops trickling down the windshield, following the exact same route each time, would all be swept away by the wiper. I ain't sending pics either. Bruh, you know what? I think you're acting mad fake today, not gonna lie. And Azure would never act fake. Therefore, I think you're Kos. I imagine we won't have to say this late again anytime soon. Stay this late again anytime soon. At least as far as this year is concerned. Thank God for that. Yeah. You definitely pushed yourself too hard this year. What makes you say that? I saw you spacing out and talking to yourself a lot lately. I was getting a bit worried, to be honest. I was talking to myself? Fumi nodded. Well, you rarely actually spoke, but you seemed deep in thought all the time. I tensed up, worried that she might have noticed my condition. But Fumi added, I think you were talking about work or something. Happens to everyone. That's a bit shocking. I thought I was being careful not to let my exhaustion show. Fumi smiled, her eyes still fixed on the road. You're usually pretty difficult to read, so it'd actually make it easier for me if you were more open. I don't even remember the last time you took a vacation. Made me wonder if you actually take any time to rest. Though if you do that, Inukai will have less work than me. Just saying, she added. But I took a very long vacation a while back. Fumi paused for a second, then went on with well, that was quite a while back, wasn't it? I wonder if I took too many days off. I tried to guide the conversation toward the subject I was most curious about. Fumi shook her head in response. I think you needed them back then. Really? I pressed further, noticing Fumi was hesitating. It was around the time Miss Takako passed away. Bro. How? What? I ain't Kos. Look, how do you want me and... Oh, probe. I'm Azure. I don't want you to anal probe anybody. What the heck are you talking about? Takako passed away, guys. Fumi's voice lowered to a whisper. When Takako passed away? You don't normally show emotions, but back then everyone could tell you were trying to suppress more than what was healthy. We couldn't do anything. I was so worried. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you through that. I did everything I could not to show my bewilderment as Fumi shook her head. But you returned to normal when you came back from that vacation. You even took care of all the accumulated paperwork at twice the pace. I couldn't spend the rest of my life moping around and crying. Oh, so I guess everything we saw on the vacation, like her eating with Takako, her kissing Takako, her in the woods with Takako hugging or whatever the fuck they were doing, all of that never happened. That was like right after Takako died. She went on vacation alone, started her fantasizing, and yeah, this is fucked. Look, how do you want me and probe? I'm Azure. Wait, I read that already. What's going on, Floof boy? How you doing? Looking out the window, I spotted the closest convenience store to my house. I felt as though a snake had been wriggling inside my head. I could tell it was most likely my blood flow, but I was feeling so sick I decided not to think too deeply about anything. Thanks for the lift. No problem. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow. I opened the car's door and rushed to the entrance of my apartment complex in the heavy downpour. I heard the sound of a car engine whirring to life behind me. Glancing backwards, I saw Fumi waving me goodbye as she stepped on the gas. Once her car had disappeared into the darkness, I boarded the elevator. I pressed my palm against my head. It hurt like hell. As I reached my floor, I took the key holder out of my pouch as I walked down the corridor, then opened my door. I stepped inside and locked the door behind me. Upon entering the bedroom, I threw myself onto the bed, not caring about my still wet clothes. I wasn't planning to get up anymore. I haphazardly pulled a sheet over myself and closed my eyes. Then I repeated the words one more time in my head. Takako's dead. I could hear the sound of the clock somewhere deep within the darkness. Can't tell what's real anymore? I mean, I think we got a decent hint of the timeline. So Takako died. After she died, Sachiko went on some vacation to, like, I guess clear her head. Had a shitload of fantasies going on. When she got back from vacation, she hired Inukai, which is why Inukai had never met Takako, because Takako was already dead at that point. The only thing we don't know is, how did Takako die? Sorry, you aren't real. Wake up. But Flu figured him out. GU, can you say ooh? Why do you always want me to say ooh? I already said it before. Just go to that stream where you first made me say it and, like, replay the clip to your heart's content. I opened my eyes after experiencing a pleasant feeling of lightness, almost like I was floating in the wind. Within the deep darkness hovered a tiny flame, illuminating the cold, rock-laden ground below it. There was someone sitting in front of me, on the opposite side of the flame. I know you. We've met before. That's right. We met at the square. You were with your lover then. They were garbed in a robe with a long hood, preventing me from making out their face. Why are you in my dream? I don't know. It was as though my question had been swallowed by the darkness. Your mind seems to be in quite the state of chaos. Perhaps. You know what, guys? Alright, Sorrow, you ready? OBS not cooperating with Floof? Damn. Alright, Sorrow, you ready? I got a prediction. My prediction is, you know that chick that she met in the square that gave her directions out of, like, those alleys? I think, like, remember they, like, exchanged contact info and, like, whatnot? I think they're gonna meet up again. They're gonna fall in love. And this newfound love will help her to move on from Takako's death in the end. I think it's gonna be like a redemption story. Like, you lost the love of your life, but you found new love and you're able to regain happiness. That's gonna be my prediction. Perhaps you're more confused than you realize. Well, whatever you say, in any case, there was something I forgot to ask you last time. What's that? Why didn't you renounce your theory? Most likely because I thought preserving it held more value than the remainder of my life. Why? Life versus theory. Yes. What we recognize as life is but an accumulation of electrical signals. Our consciousness is merely the result of oscillating electrons. What the heck? Once you die and that function fails, even that disappears. But the thoughts and ideas you put out there into the world, they remain. It might be no more than a tiny part of me, but a certain sequence of my individual oscillations resonates with and gets copied to other people. It is, of course. Alright, you know what? After hearing all this science talk, Saru, I gotta back up the second prediction. My second prediction is, not only is Takako fictional, the current Takako, but we're gonna find out there's a second plot twist. Sachiko actually isn't a waifu. Sachiko is actually a male and goes on to become Einstein. Bro. Second prediction. So, like, what was she kissing then when she was on vacation? She was either kissing the floor or she wasn't kissing anything. It was just a daydream. Same way you could daydream that you're kissing crayons while you're sitting in class. But at the end of the day, it's not really happening, even if a part of your brain takes it to be an actual event that happened in reality. Placing bets on Nico's prediction. It is, of course, hardly anything special. Everyone's doing it. That's just the kind of animal we as a species are. For instance, singing songs of love, gazing at pictures of your homeland, reading letters. The feelings of the creator are conveyed and thus find new life within the heart of the beholder. It's quite simple. I suppose that makes sense. STOP. Every word in our language comes with some individual sequence of oscillations, the original masters of which had long since been lost to time. A single word everyone uses now makes the feelings of those ancients reappear in the world. I feel that's a tad more significant than a few years of living. Like a bubble from the shrouded depths of the sea. Right. The bubbles meld together, change their shapes, and form feelings even more complicated than the original. I imagine it as a sketch of a Persian rug that gets more and more complicated. That sounds like it. The people currently alive are the threads connecting the oscillation sequences into one giant rug of near infinite complexity. So all people that are alive are part of that rug, are they not? Dead or alive, guys. Video game reference in here, bro. Takako too? Yeah. What about you? I think so. You're a strange one. Could say the same about you. I wish we could have met while you were still alive, not in some dream. Indeed, this is a dream completely isolated from reality. You've come up with everything here on your own. Perhaps I have. But I'm extremely interested in what you're trying to achieve now. What are you talking about? The person fell silent. The gradually waning flame around us no longer reached their face. It seems like time's up. This is literally how all of my dreams go. I slowly opened my heavy eyelids, waking up to a grating noise. Lub-dub. It sounded like something hitting a large drum. It was pitch dark around me, I couldn't see anything. I finally made out the vague, cobalt-tinted light of my alarm clock, with the one eye that wasn't blocked by my pillow, and saw the numbers on its display. Lub-dub. The sound seemed to be coming from my chest. It was the beating of my heart. The blood vessels in close proximity to my ears were sending blood up into my head, contracting like a throat gulping down water. This sounds scary, bro. I squeezed my sheet and firmly closed my eyes. I must have been woken up by a bad dream or something. As I continued to listen, the sound grew more and more unbearable. This is terrifying. I heard someone clutch the sheets. As I opened my eyes, I saw Takako's back. I reached out, but my eardrums almost exploded as my arm brushed against the sheet. Still enduring that terrifying sound, I finally managed to reach her back with my palm. Is something wrong? As I was unable to force out a single word, Takako, with my hand still against her back, spoke up herself. Is it another one of those? Did you have a bad dream? I gently pulled on her pajamas. Takako slowly turned around to face me. After wrapping her arms around my tense shoulders, she held me tight to her chest. The sound, which at this point was beginning to sound like a battering ram against my eardrums, grew in intensity. The rustling of clothes, the compressor, each and every little sound in the vicinity assailed my ears like the boom of thunder. I want to eat slime. I thought you were in high school, but you're starting to sound like you're in kindergarten. Lub-dub, lub-dub. The sound of running blood was the rumble trying to tear my nerves to shreds. Takako's hand touched my hair. She began stroking it. Her hand moved slowly like a cloud in the sky. What the heck? Or a shadow upon the face of a sundial. All the terrible sounds, now melded into one agonizing cacophony, were returning to normal one by one with each of her strokes. The fridge in the kitchen, the digital clock next to my pillow, the wind howling against the window, they became more and more distant. I'll be up until you fall asleep, so relax. Her whisper still sounded like an ear-piercing scream, but it no longer made me break out in a cold sweat. Bro, she's nothing without Sakiko. It just seems so good. No. Feeling something warm against my eyelids, I opened my eyes. The bright light of morning found its way through a gap in my curtains. I traced a hand along my shoulder, finding the spot Sakiko was touching just moments before. I could feel warmth, the unmistakable trace of someone's touch. Looking at the bed after I had climbed out of it, I noticed some wrinkles on the sheets, almost as though someone had really been lying next to me. I placed my hand on the wrinkled spot, finding it still warm. The door to my bedroom was left partially open. Nico, I don't know if you realize this, but we are equals we are, cause pirates. Bro, what the fuck? Where's all this corn coming from? Is it because the Americans just had Thanksgiving? Is that where the corn is coming from? A crow sounded a shriek, letting the slumbering city know that morning had come. I heard the sound normally. Raising my now functioning head, I left the room. I told Narasaki what Fumi had told me, including the intense ringing of my ears that followed. Narasaki listened to me, nodding her head. It seemed almost like she wasn't surprised at all. Narasaki left her pen on the desk and placed a hand on her chin. Can I bring you something to drink? Go ahead. Sorry about interrupting. She moved further into the room and came back holding 2 cups. I used this to keep myself awake, so it might be a tad too strong. Narasaki placed one of the cups next to me. Thank you. I was about to take a sip, but the coffee was so hot it burned my lips. I used a silver spoon Narasaki handed me to stir the cup a little. How is it? After cooling down the coffee to a tolerable temperature, I took a very small sip just to wet my lips, but still ended up wincing at the taste. It's bitter. I've heard that hard roasted coffee beans are supposed to not carbonize and retain their sweetness. I've heard that light roasting actually makes it retain more caffeine, so it's more effective at waking you up. I'm not sure how it works with caffeine, to be honest, but the taste of this one is enough to drive sleep away from me. It's more of a mood thing. I took another sip, then left the cup on the desk. I understand what you mean. Narasaki cleared her throat, drank up the last remnants of coffee from her cup in a single gulp, and left it at her desk. I could see black dregs trembling at the bottom of her cup. Managed to calm down a little? Yes. You don't feel sick or anything? I had a headache when I heard what Fumi had to say, but it's already passed. That terrible pain was gone by morning. Good. My head doesn't hurt, but I no longer understand what's going on with me. Narasaki drummed her fingers against the desk. I urged her to answer faster. For one, we can tell that Takako has passed away. That's definitely true. I furrowed my brows. Do you have proof? You've only forgotten about it. I've forgotten that too? Besides, I know how and when it happened. I see. In that case, can I remember it through hypnosis? Most likely. Narasaki prepared the sofa we used last time and made me lie down. We don't need to go as deep into sleep as last time. Just relax and listen to my words. Does she really want to learn the truth, though? Because she literally almost had like a freaking heart attack from learning the truth. I don't know if this is a good idea, bros. She told me to close my eyes and relax like the last time. Then she began talking in a slow voice. Try and recall that rainy day. We hadn't met in a while. Suddenly I could hear the sound of rain. There was a line of people dressed in black. I could smell the faint hint of incense through the rain. Is this her at the funeral? Why is she dressed all in black, though? Narasaki's all in black, too. It's been a while. I'm Narasaki, do you remember me? She handed me her business card. If you need help, you can always come to me. Right, now I remember. We hadn't spoken in a decade at that point. It seemed like you had already forgotten all about it when we chatted at that cafe, though. I was a little surprised when you just took my business card. I'm sorry about that. Don't be. I figured it was probably related to the reason why you'd want my help anyway. I could have told you everything, but I didn't want to force things when I still didn't have all the answers. Apparently, Narasaki was planning to tell me about Takiko's death after pinpointing the cause of my condition. I see. You've probably already realized this much, but I imagine you forced yourself to forget about Takiko in an attempt to cope with her loss. I was worried that making you remember would only upset your mental state, causing your hallucinations and ear-ringing to grow worse. But your guess was off then? Understanding what Narasaki said, I took another look at myself. I wasn't exactly in pain, nor did I feel anything that could be described as severe anxiety, fear, or even stress. I'm glad I was wrong. Otherwise, we might have been in a pretty tough situation with you learning the truth before I could explain anything. I was pretty confused when I learned about it, though. I think your headache was just an after effect of your memories returning. I heard the meow of the cat walking on the fence beyond the small window. What's happening? What's happening is Takiko... I explained this like 2 or 3 times. Takiko's dead. After she died, Sachiko started hallucinating Takiko in order to cope with the loss. So the whole vacation at the beach scene that we saw in the beginning, that never happened. Not for real anyway, that was a fantasy of Sachiko's. The only thing that did happen for real is the fact that she went on a vacation, but it was most likely by herself. And the scenes that we saw of them in high school, those we could assume were real. And for some time they did work together in the business. But Takiko died and then things changed. And then she started having the hallucinations. Inukai joined the business, so he never met Takiko, and so on and so forth. And now, after learning the truth from Fumi, being reminded that Takiko is dead, Sachiko's having like these headaches and like other stress symptoms, like her heart's beating really loud, really fast. And Narasaki, who she knew when she was younger, is being straightforward and saying, yeah, I knew all along. I was at the funeral. I saw you there. Yada yada. I was gonna reveal this to you eventually, but I didn't want to cause agitation to your mental state that would sort of possibly give you a heart attack or a stroke or something. So it's like, okay, you know the truth now. You're holding up pretty well. Let's talk about this some more. When do you think they'll reveal how she died? Yeah, that's what I want to know. That's why we got to keep playing. They might reveal it now. Who knows? But we'll see. Maybe during the hypnosis. Well, I'm glad I managed to straighten out some of my memories without any obvious repercussions, but this raises a couple of new questions, just like that trip I saw during your hypnosis. You said that you thought I couldn't handle the shock of Takiko's death and forgot all about it, is that correct? Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind, but it looks like I was wrong. Narasaki nodded. Let's fix these one by one. Narasaki picked up my medical record and opened up to the page with the diagram. First, you misremembered the dates of your trip and Takiko's disappearance. This was done so you could treat your hallucinations as real things. On this account, I doubt we were mistaken. So can we now consider this memory discrepancy problem solved? Yeah. Next, I thought that your hallucinations were the result of a deep psychological shock caused by Takiko's death. But that was probably off the mark. So what we're left with is the fact that Takiko is nowhere to be found, plus your symptoms. Narasaki added that to the diagram. I gave it another careful look. Wait, how do you know my hallucinations haven't also been cured? Didn't we just eliminate their cause? Narasaki paused for a few seconds. Your memory loss was just something to convince yourself the hallucinations you've been seeing in the office were real. And in regards to Takiko, whether she disappeared or passed away, it doesn't change the fact that she's not with you. It's possible you might no longer see hallucinations in the office, but as long as you're alone, your situation hasn't changed much from before. Well, it's entirely possible your symptoms might have gotten lighter now, that you remember the important things, but this diagram doesn't show the cause of your hallucinations to begin with. It can't exactly declare you cured just yet. Melatonin gummies are so good. What the heck are melatonin gummies? Is that a real thing? I forgot what melatonin is supposed to do. I think it's like the comfort chemical of the brain. Let me look it up again. A hormone your brain produces in response to darkness. Helps your cardiac rhythms? No, circadian rhythms. I don't know what that means. 24-hour internal clock. So it helps you sleep? Huh. That's something. I bet they shared a sandwich and now she lives inside her. What the heck? What? Is that a reference to something? Sharing a sandwich and then living inside someone? Everything has a meaning and a reason, huh? Exactly. Looking at that diagram though, it didn't seem like we had much left to go on. It felt like all of the possible causes have been ruled out either by the examination or the treatment I received. In any case, I suppose it'd be a good idea for me to keep coming here. Narasaki considered me for a few seconds before voicing her agreement. It seemed like she was busy thinking about something else. Is something bothering you? Yeah, but for now I have to keep observing you. As I've said before, there is a possibility that your symptoms might have grown lighter with this. Would be nice if that was the case. I looked at my watch while Narasaki placed her pen and medical record on the desk before shifting her attention to the calendar on the wall. On it, a red line crossed out all the days from the end of this week to the end of the next. You have a vacation coming up, right? Yes, that's right. Yesterday you worked late into the night, correct? I'm worried about your symptoms, but I'm just as concerned about your physical health. I highly recommend spending your vacation somewhere calm and relaxing. Do you have anything planned? Not really. Any place you'd recommend? Narasaki lightly scratched her cheek. I tend to spend most of the days at home, so how about a hot spring? A hot spring? A coworker of mine actually invited me on a trip to one just the other day. I suppose my hometown is more famous for hot springs than anything around here, but if I went back there now, I'd be opening a whole new can of worms. I'm not saying it's necessary or anything, but perhaps it would be better for you to be with someone who knows you well. And if it's a calm place where you can relax, all the better. What about spending my vacation at home? There were some movies I wanted to watch. Maybe I should just drop by the rental store on my way back. Narasaki slowly shook her head, as if trying to look around the room while I browsed through various movie titles in my mind. That sounds like a good way to relax, but I'd still recommend going outside. Would that be more effective? Yeah. Do you remember the conditions for making your memories surface through hypnotic treatment? Yes, I think it was information directly connected to said memories, like concrete sites, situations, and dates. That's right. You can say that in your head your memories are tagged or indexed in a particular way. I'm pretty sure you've experienced a certain kind of elation and a rush of memories when you were looking at a nostalgic site, and your room is packed with memories of Takako. Your environment is full of things that will remind you of her. Things that will remind me of her. I repeated her words. If possible, I'd recommend picking somewhere you haven't been to before. Places with strong ties to Takako, like your office or your home, will definitely make you remember her. I think it would help for you to relax and reorganize your thoughts in a completely fresh environment. This is really good advice, not for nothing. I respect this. You may be right. If you do find someplace nice, be sure to tell me about it. Alright. I went back home and finished the laundry. Then I scrubbed the bathroom and the wash basin until the sun set. After that, I cleaned the oil stains from the stove and the mold that had accumulated around the faucet. I also polished the sink until I could see my face reflected in it. Finally, I thought about how to spend my vacation. I couldn't think of a single acquaintance I wanted to spend time with in this condition. I watched the tap water hit the bottom of the freshly polished sink. With nothing else to do, I sort of spaced out for a while. I observed the translucent flow of water from the tap as it burst apart upon hitting the surface of the silver sink. The water kept swirling around as it traveled down the drainage. Having grown tired of watching that, I turned off the tap. After observing the last drops of water disappear from the sink, I removed my apron and hung it on the rack. I continued to the bathroom. After undressing, I began opening the door leading inside. The steam from the bathtub escaped through the slit. Once I'd confirmed that the temperature was just right, I climbed inside the tub, submerging myself in the water. I could feel my body warming up, along with the pleasantly light tingling of heat against my skin. We should use this chance to go somewhere far. I heard Takako speak. Oh, bro. Getting some Takako action. Open my eyes to see her playing with a toy duck. Somewhere far. That sounds nice. But I was told not to tire myself out too much. I feel bad for Sachiko, man. I heard the phone ring as I left the bath. I wrapped the towel around myself and hurried to the living room. This is it, Saru. The phone call from the girl from the alleys. Hello? Ah, finally. Hello. Is this Miss Sachiko? I heard a somewhat familiar voice from the other end of the receiver. Yes. This is Fujisaki Nanai. I thought you wanted to visit us. I remember the woman who helped me look for Takako back in Italy. It's been a while. Oh, what? You just called me the other day. Did I? Yes, you really did forget. Didn't you say you wanted to visit us during your next vacation? Nanai's tone was colored by mild surprise. I did? Yes. Our inn isn't open to regular customers right now due to remodeling, so you were happy that you could have the whole place to yourself. Are you sure you don't remember? I made an attempt to try and remember but failed. Come to think of it, I have been completely occupied with work these past 2 weeks. I must have forgotten our conversation as a result of that. There was also that thing with Takako, so I tried not to think too deeply about it. GU would have an imaginary GF? Bro, never. That's literally you with crayons, bro. So has your vacation started already? You said you'd be here by next weekend, I believe. My vacation was supposed to start next weekend. There were no issues with my schedule. Yes. After we finished the conversation, I hung up. I sort of just went along with what Nanai said, but it seemed like the whole vacation problem had just solved itself. I returned to my room and pulled out my travel bag from the closet. I found a pamphlet in one of its inner pockets. As I flipped through a few pages, a piece of paper fell out of the thing. It had a nice phone number and address written on it. I placed the piece of paper on the side table and sat down on my bed. I felt like I'd been letting circumstances dictate my decisions for me as of late. I inhaled a deep breath and cleared my mind. After a brief pause, I considered what I should think about first. I recalled my encounter with the Takako hallucination in the bathroom. It had been a while since I saw her naked. I wish that hallucination had stayed for a while longer. Bro, screenshot this, bro. Where his GF at then? I went to go shut blinds in my house and there's a bug, so now I'm scared and can't shut the blinds. What is it, a roach? Narasaki's words suddenly reverberated in my mind. Everything has a reason. There was a reason why I misremembered the date of the trip and was confused about Takako's fate. According to Narasaki, it was most likely because I actually wanted to keep seeing Takako's hallucinations. The reason I thought Takako was still alive and knew Inikai was to make it so that my hallucinations in the office wouldn't clash too violently with my perceived reality. After thinking about it that way, it all made perfect sense. My own emotional frailty was the cause of it all. I have a horrible past with bugs. Tell me more. Tips 1 Narasaki Clinic. Room 2A has been unlocked. Chapter 1? The hospital in the forest? Dude, I think we've been playing this game for like 8 hours. All 3 streams combined. And all of that 8 hours was the prologue. Click. After finishing breakfast, I returned to my hospital room and turned on the radio with the broken spring by forcing it switch a little. Good morning. It'll take a few more minutes for the sun to peek its face from the horizon. However, you can already see the clouds being illuminated by its golden light. Certainly a sight that fills one's soul with energy, is it not? Azure, you will never know because he doesn't let anyone know. Bro, Gio, I told you this. All prelude. When I was younger, I woke up to a spider crawling my mouth. What? I don't remember that. Radio began transmitting someone's cheerful voice through the unusual noise. I don't remember that, but that's fucking hilarious. First, allow me to detail today's weather. LOL, not even chapter 1. Oh man, Ishigaki is going to be exposed to east-southeast winds of level 3 strength. Meanwhile, the sky will be cloudy with 1013 HPA barometric pressure and temperatures at 24 degrees Celsius. Naha. I moved to the plane room's window to confirm the weather of southern Japan. Yes, sir, Azure. Curtains parted with an energetic sound, and the gloomy room was instantly filled with bright golden light. I considered the blue sky and azure sea beyond the window. I inhaled a deep breath, filling my chest with the pleasantly chilly morning air. Are you ready? Exercise number 1. Exercise directions began spilling forth from the radio. I straightened my stance, stuck out my chest, and stretched my back. Soon enough, I heard a knock on the door. I turned my head back as part of the exercise and saw Mayuko, my nurse. Each time I turned, the light being reflected from her white uniform would blind me. I didn't miss the chance to marvel at her sizable bosom, though. You seem to be in high spirits today. How are you feeling? I'm good. I think I've been doing pretty well these last couple of days. Bending forward, I touched the floor with my palms. I could do better back in my teens, but my body was still far from stiff. With my hands on my waist, I bent backwards. It was just what my rusty old back needed. It felt great. I could see Mayuko upside down. Regular exercise is well and good, but please try not to overdo it. Our eyes met. Oh, this is nothing. It's not like I've got a physical condition. Well, I suppose that's true. Mayuko, brushing the topic aside, placed the notebook she'd been holding on the side table. And when I was in my old apartment, there were ants coming in and they started crawling on my leg. Why would they crawl on your leg? I don't think they do that. What kind of ants did you have, bro? How is it funny? Bro, I'm scared of bugs ever since. It's hilarious, dude. Cause like that's life, dude. Like when you're asleep, shit happens. Like freaking insects run around, centipedes, all types of shit. It's very rare that they'll like get on top of your bed, but it could happen. I've heard that insects could like go in people's ears while they're sleeping and shit. Like you never know, dude. Azure said Ong. Azure? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the heck is going on with Azure. What said Azure? It's talking about me? The F? The F is Ut. I think she's talking about Uta from the One Piece movie. I'll leave your new notebook here. Glancing at the side table, I saw that the notebook in question was covered in brown letter. It was similarly designed to the ones I was using before, but still had an odd sense of newness about it. I bent down, touching my left and right toes. Oh, and after you're done exercising, I would like you to make good on your promise from yesterday. Sure, just give me a sec. Mayuko passed by me and sat down on my bed. Trying not to make too much commotion by jumping around, I instead kept moving up and down on my tiptoes while lifting my arms. You can certainly keep this up for a long time. I can't wake up unless I do this, though to be honest, the morning bath would do the job even better. We are not running a hotel here. Well, that's why I gotta generate my own energy like this. I stretched again, my unbrushed hair tickling my shoulders. You have low blood pressure, if I remember correctly. Jealous? I'm a walking energy-saving machine. Are you sure? Given the amount you eat, I'd say you have a faulty engine, if anything. That's just how much I work. I heaved a deep sigh. Well, let's make use of all that energy, then. I had food, and they started crawling on me. Bro, don't just say Uda, shaking my head. The ants attacked you for food? They don't do that, bro. Where do you live? What kind of freaking ants do you have? Oh, guys, did you look at the bottom right? It says Takako. I wonder if this is a flashback or if Takako's like secretly alive and Sachiko just doesn't know it. Maybe she's alive and in a hospital. I don't know what the hell is going on, but we're playing as Takako again. I remember this one time I was living in Mexico for 2 months. I woke up at night and I went to the kitchen and the floor was full of cockroaches. And I had to tippy toe. I was literally crying. Wait, when you say full of cockroaches, just how many were on the floor? Like, estimate. Yakult for the fridge. From. That's what happens, dude. If there's a house or an apartment with roaches and night falls, they'll literally come out from God knows where And they'll start running all over the place. They'll just be fucking chilling, no fucks given. You gotta do a lot of things to get rid of them too. You gotta like get some plaster or something and like seal every crack and crevice in the house. Make sure there aren't any cracks around pipes or anything. Put some poison bait in the house. Make sure there's no dirty dishes or water left over near sinks, around sinks. Seal open electric outlets, because they could come out of electric outlets. Yeah, getting rid of roaches is like a hassle. But it can be done. Bro, my brother a couple days ago thought there was rice on his monitor, but it was just a fly. Literally everywhere. Damn. Damn, GU Azure keeps Yakuza in the fridge? Yeah, she does. That's some scary shit. I looked inside the umbrella-shaped lamp on the ceiling, grasped the burned-out light bulb within, and turned it counterclockwise a few times. It let out a creaking sound. Here you go. I pulled the light bulb out of the socket and handed it to Maiko, who was standing by the stepladder. She took it with her left hand while handing the new light bulb with her right. Here. Thanks. I pressed the new light bulb against the socket and turned it clockwise a couple of times. After making sure it was steadily attached, I pulled my hand out of the glass umbrella and brushed the dust coating with my fingers on my thighs. Okay. Try turning on the lights now. Maiko let go of the stepladder and flipped the switch attached to the wall next to the entrance of the room. The room lit up, and I had to narrow my eyes just to look up. The night keeper's room was filled by a dazzling orange light. I hopped off the stepladder. Thank you very much. Maiko gave me a smile. No problem. I raised my hand in response. Where to next? I folded up the stepladder and gave Maiko a look. Next up would be, I shifted the ladder in my hand so it wouldn't hit my leg while Maiko, standing next to me, opened the floor plan of the sanatorium. The main building was designed in the shape of a big U with a silent inner yard surrounded by 3 walls. The road from the inner yard led to another building that housed our library. It was also attached to the main building by a connecting corridor. Maiko's floor plan was marked with several circles. She placed the paper on the open space of a flower stand and then pulled out a red pen from her chest pocket and added another circle for the break room. Bro, they could come out of the toilet? Yeah, that's also true. And my brother ate that fly, which he thought was rice. Pretty funny. Seems like only a library is left. Hey, let's get a move on then. We left the break room and continued down the connecting corridor to the library. The corridor itself had windows on both sides, allowing the blinding sunlight to enter unobstructed. How did you guys realize it was a fly? Did he pull it in his mouth and like feel the texture of the wings or something? Maiko was looking at the floor plan as she walked ahead of me. Seems like we only have 3 places to take care of here. Can't believe they're making patients do this. You're tall and have endurance. We all appreciate your help, Miss Takako. Maiko chuckled to herself. I shifted the folded stepladder in my arms and glanced outside. I could see a couple of trees, their leaves partially shed, swaying gently in the wind. I wanted to take care of this before the nights began to grow longer. Maiko was gazing outside the same window as me. Oh, don't sweat it. I've had nothing to do lately, so I appreciate any opportunity to have a different kind of workout. I raised the stepladder to my shoulder like I was lifting weights. Maiko responded with a chuckle. As she opened the door leading to the library, we found ourselves enveloped by the smell of old paper and dust. The closest one is the wall lamp next to the history bookshelf. Gotcha. As we made our rounds in the library, changing all the weekend lights, I spotted a braided girl reading a book at one of the desks. Aha. Knew I'd find you here, Sanai. The girl raised her face from the book to look at me. She fixed the position of her glasses with her index finger. Takako? Good afternoon, Miss Sanai. Entering behind me, Maiko spotted Sanai as well and gave her a greeting. Good afternoon. Sanai replied in a small voice. Are you planning on reading here for a while? Sanai turned to me and made a barely perceptible nod. My room was too bright for reading. Sanai fixed the position of her glasses again. I'll return the books I borrowed later today. Alright. Her eyes behind the glasses lit up. I slightly raised the folded stepladder I had on my shoulder. kinda doing my share of forced labor today. Miss Takako, I would appreciate it if you refrained from that choice of words. You can't exactly call it forced when you volunteered yourself. Mayako furrowed her brows in mock indignation. What about the labor part? I think that applies just fine. You're helping us all out, not to mention it helps your rehabilitation. Still holding the bag of light bulbs, Mayako crossed her arms. I didn't know it had anything to do with my rehabilitation. It does. In any case, we should hurry and finish up already. Mayako pulled on the sleeve of my hand that supported most of the folded stepladder's weight. If I didn't want to fall, I had no choice but to follow her. See you later. I waved Sanai goodbye, and she answered me with a light smile and a wave of her own. I pushed the fluorescent tube into its place on the ceiling, and made sure to fasten it so it wouldn't fall on someone's head later. And with this, we're done. After confirming the light worked fine, I folded up the stepladder. Mayako crossed out the last circle on the floor plan. She put the cap on her pen before returning it to her pocket. Thank you very much for today. Mayako bowed her head in an expression of thanks. Do you still have to work after this? I heaved the folded stepladder on my shoulders so it wouldn't upset my balance. Aw, she's so cute. Who's cute? The new girl, Sanai? I just have to make my rounds. In that case, I'll go back to Sanai after I put this back. I pointed at the stepladder. Mayako picked up the paper bag with the old light bulbs in it. Bring me some good sweets next time. I'll think about it. I want a sponge cake. Okay. Sanai, still on her bed, rummaged through the nearby shelf and pulled out a wooden plate with rice crackers on it. Here, have some. I picked up the one wrapped in seaweed and popped it into my mouth. Thanks. The seaweed already had a certain moistness to it, but the actual cracker was crunchy enough to feel fresh. Sanai herself picked up a can from the shelf. After opening it, she scooped up some of the tea powder with a spoon and added it to the boiling water in the pot. After hitting the spoon against the side of the can to return the residue powder, she closed its lid, returned it to the shelf, and filled the teacups with tea. The tea came just when I was starting to get thirsty from all the dry rice crackers. Break's almost over? Wait, what break? Thanks. I took the teacup from her and helped myself to a sip of the hot liquid. Sanai's small room housed the bed, a cabinet, and the cane chair I brought from the recreation room. It was way smaller than my room, but still felt more spacious. I've loved seaweed crackers all my life. The person who came up with combining seaweed and rice crackers must have been a genius. I like them too. I prefer rice crackers with sesame though. Yeah, that one's pretty good too. You start off wanting to have only one or two, and soon enough you're left with an empty box. I reached out to grab the second cracker. Are you perhaps hungry? I stopped Sanai as she was about to reach out toward the shelf again. Nah, not really, but dinner here is kinda bland, don't you think? I never really feel all that full afterwards. Well, that's sort of a given. This is a sanatorium, after all. Meals are made for consideration for a balance in nutrients. Yeah, I wish they'd at least let me use my own seasoning. The dry wind clattered against the window next to the bed. Sanai reached out and closed it, making the sound cease. The wind has grown stronger lately. Autumn is right around the corner. That's true, Sanai answered. Then she glanced out the window, looking at the tree shedding its red and yellow leaves. A single leaf on one of its branches fluttered in the wind. By the time that tree is fully stripped of the leaves, the wind will calm down a bit. Temperatures will be lower too. Is that how it works? Happens every year. Sanai's eyes were still fixed on the window after she said that. How long have you been here? I'm not sure anymore. I stopped counting after the first 5 years. She turned back to me. Don't you get bored of being here? I don't know. I don't usually think about stuff like that. Really? Sanai slowly nodded. Really? Even if I tried thinking about it, all I'd remember are memories of living here. It's not like I could compare this place to any other. I see. I glanced back at the lonely tree. A gust of wind made its sunset-colored leaves brush against the window glass. Further beyond that tree lay a forest that continued to the harbor. I could see some trees with colored leaves there as well. How about you, Takako? Do you not get bored of this place? Well, living surrounded by nature on top of a mountain has its upsides. The port town below is not exactly a bustling metropolis, but I like its retro feel. I also love how the wind here always has the scent of the sea to it. I looked at the port town beyond the window. I look silent and lifeless in the distance, almost like a picture. It's pretty boring here during the winter. Well, I guess that's how winters are everywhere. I like reading books, so I have everything I want right here. So then I lifted a book from her knees. Yeah, this place sure has a lot of books. I glanced toward the direction of the library. Now that I think about it, I haven't been given the library key yet. If you have nothing to do during winter, why not try reading some books as well? I'm sure Miss Mayuko will lend you the key if you ask. No, I'm good. I get plenty of reading just from the stuff you recommend. Ah, now that I think about it, you don't have anything to read right now, do you? Do you want me to lend you a volume or two? Maybe not right now. I still have to write in my diary. I crossed my legs again and pulled out a new notebook from my pocket. That's a new one, isn't it? Would you rather be in a pit of sharks or cheetahs? Bro, I would rather be in a pit of sharks because if they're on land, I think they'll be struggling to survive and they won't be able to do much harm to me. I could probably knock them out. On the side table next to Sanai's bed rested a different notebook. Yes, I have. My diary entries mostly just consist of my opinions on books though. At least you always have something to write about, I guess. Would you like to write in yours right now? You can use my table if you want. I stopped Sanai right as she was about to climb out of the bed. I'll do it later. I've got stuff to write today, so it shouldn't take that long. I see. What are you reading right now anyway? The book resting under Sanai's hands had a marker stuck into it around the middle. Sanai picked it up and showed me the cover. There was a bucket with a picture of a sci-fi looking city drawn on it. The letters above the bucket spelled out seabed. Oh, we got the title, guys. Seabed. Seabed. It's a mystery novel. The protagonist and her lover visit a southern island and get stuck repeating the same day over and over again. Sounds like 51st dates almost. What if it was water? Deep water. If it's deep water, then I would rather be in a pit of cheetahs because they would drown and die and I'd be okay. I see, so it's one of those loop stories I keep hearing about. Is it fun? It's fun so far. If it doesn't fall apart in the middle, I'll lend it to you before returning it to the library. I'll be looking forward to that. The Southern Islands are cool. We can't go anywhere right now, so it's nice to be able to make the journey in your head at least. Have you traveled before? Yeah, quite a bit actually. It's a long story, but do you want to hear it? Sanai made a friendly smile. I'm okay, but what about your diary? I can always do it later. Besides, Maiko said recounting my memories to other people helps with my condition. In that case, I'd definitely like to hear what you have to say. So I left the book on the side table and turned to face me. I began to visualize one of my trips in my mind so I could tell her everything in great detail. So it seems like Takako also has memory loss. The sky that day was of the color of brand new jeans. The wooden planks creaked under each of my steps. The main tourist attractions of this port town were above the sea. There were countless restaurants and souvenir stores lining the wooden deck. The wharf had seen its fair share of use over the years. Some of its planks let out unsettling creaks as people stepped on them. Surprised by the abrupt sound, I jumped back, almost crashing into a tall young man standing behind me. However, he managed to dodge me, his light blonde hair fluttering in the wind as he did. But by the time I regained my balance and was about to apologize, the man had already blended into the crowd of tourists vanishing from sight. As I was trying to find the man again, Sachiko came over and told me she had spotted him by the crab signboard. Okay, so she remembers Sachiko. Really? I looked in the direction she was pointing at, and saw a large sign shaped like a ship's steering wheel. Not gonna lie, Sachiko's kinda hot with the long hair though. In the center it had the picture of a massive crab. I hurried toward it, Sachiko followed. Don't move from here. I told Sachiko to wait while she was still busy admiring the sign, then turned around to look for someone who'd take a photo of us. Hey, photo! Could you take a photo of us, please? I approached a well-built, middle-aged man wearing a sun cap and conveyed to him, mostly through gestures, that I wanted a picture. The man gave me a thumbs up. I hurried back to the signboard and lined up next to Sachiko. Don't forget to smile. I wrapped my arm around Sachiko's waist. Ooh! and pulled her closer. Then say something funny. Say whiskey. The man pushed the shutter button while I was flustered. A jumper cable walks into a bar. What? Just as Sachiko narrowed her eyes. The instant print camera flashed and our picture was burned into the film. Holding the finished picture, the man hollered aloud, "Okay, our way." Right at the very last moment before the flash, I spotted a tall young man standing behind us. After making a peace sign right in the middle of our picture, he gracefully drew away from us, melting into the crowd of tourists. What was that? I think it was the man you almost crashed into earlier, said Sachiko, looking in the direction the mysterious person disappeared in. The man wearing the sun cap returned to us, balling his hand into a fist to convey how great the picture turned out to be. Meanwhile, the floorboards continued to creak under his weight. No, both are different sharks in water and cheetahs in land. Bro, just admit that I answered the question correctly. Just admit that I answered it correctly. Thanks. You're welcome. He patted me on the shoulder with enough force to almost dislocate it, then disappeared into the crowd. I flapped the picture a few times for the image to show up. Ugh. I see you made some new friends. Sachiko addressed me as I let out a gasp of surprise. The picture showed a somewhat discontented Sachiko under a crab sign, and there I was next to her, making a confused face as I looked not at the camera, but the young man behind us. And it wasn't just the man that hijacked our picture, there was a whole group of people making weird faces and peace signs that I previously hadn't noticed at all. I wonder if we came a bit too early. The ship we reserved to reach the island was nowhere in sight. I leaned against the wooden fence to catch my breath, making it creak. A gust of cold wind from behind ruffled my hair, caressing my cheeks as I drifted along toward the town. Thirsty? Yeah, a little. What's this? I spotted one of the tourists holding a transparent cup with some odd drink. The top of it was white, while the bottom was black. On second thought, I could have sworn I'd seen that before. I wonder if it's a Coke float. Is that what you want? Sachiko narrowed her eyes and smiled. I saw it being sold at the shop we just passed. Want me to treat you to one? You would? Thanks. Sachiko turned around her heel, her long hair dancing in the wind, and continued down the road toward the nearby shops. The street was lined with brightly colored blue, red, and yellow buildings and signboards, but the clamor of shop owners calling for everyone to take a look made even that visual effect pale in comparison. Sachiko, clicking her heels against that hard asphalt, kept passing by and dodging the never-ending groups of people going the opposite way. I shifted my gaze to the scenery of the town once she disappeared from my field of vision. Ha! The sight itself felt as though I was gazing at the stage of a grand opera. It was enough to make me heave a sigh of admiration. Beyond the vivacious shop district and up the slope, there rose countless buildings that boasted roofs of matching colors depending on the district. The road twisting up the hill and into the distance seemed as though it cleaved the entire port town in two. It connected to various other streets coiling around the slope of the hill. In the distance, I could see bean-sized cars popping up and out of the lush fir trees and tall buildings with rectangular windows. You didn't? Jiu thighs or opai? Opai all the way. Ice cream float? I don't think I've ever had an ice cream float. Saru, you're so random. Saru do be kind of random though, not gonna lie. But hey man, he's a man who reacts to his passions. He heard ice cream float, he's like, fuck yeah, I'm passionate about that. It's time to speak up. It's time to advocate for my desires. And I respect that shit. The tallest structures on both sides of the town seemed like adult office buildings. But hiding between them, I could also spot a few more hotels with a certain individuality. They boasted graceful Renaissance barge boards under their windows, as well as intricately designed Corinthian columns. The few mansions in front of them seemed to have been built using Victorian architecture, with arched entranceways and tower roofs. I felt almost like a rabbit could come darting out of them at any minute. A good number of trees towered among the buildings, giving the colorful townscape a somewhat relaxing feel, like pieces of broccoli lining a lunchbox. The various old buildings from before the Industrial Revolution, mixing in with those utilizing a more modern type of architecture, gave the town the look of a colossal toy box. There were even a number of ancient-looking cable cars running along its chaotically designed roads. My eyes grew tired as I tried making out where the cable car was going. I shook my head and closed my eyelids. I could hear the sound of waves among the noisy bustle of the town. A ship horn sounded somewhere in the distance behind me. A gust of cold wind whizzed past my ears, making the flags in front of the shops flutter, then rustling the trees as it continued rising up the hill. I felt like I could hear the buzzing of engines and cable cars, even the spinning of wheels from the distant road I'd been observing. I listened in, imagining that the cacophony of all those sounds was the breathing of the town as one giant living organism. Eventually, in the chaos of all those noises, I made out the stable rhythm of a sound I was familiar with. I listened more closely, concentrating on that one sound alone. It was the sound of heels clicking against a hard surface. Here, I brought what you wanted. Saru, do you support incest? Like these fine gentlemen, cough cough, XYZ, and GU. Here, I brought what you wanted. Thanks. As I opened my eyes, still facing down, a pair of shapely legs entered my sight. As I raised my face, I nearly collided with the black and white drink from before. I took the cup from Sachiko's hands. It looked like coffee with some cream on top. Yep, that's the one I saw. It's called Irish coffee, apparently. Sachiko didn't have anything besides the cup she handed me. You're not drinking anything? I'm not really thirsty. And I guess I'll help myself to this. I brought the glass cup to my mouth and tilted it. The first thing I felt was the ice cream, which was nowhere near as sweet as I had anticipated. If anything, it had a fairly mellow taste. Then came the coffee, spreading all across my tongue. As I finally took a big gulp, something suddenly burned my throat. Ooh, yeah! A small amount was spilled out the side of my mouth, but I thankfully managed to regain enough composure not to spit it out like a fountain. As long as I'm not the one doing it, it's alright. See, that's what I'm saying, bro. You forgot closing parentheses. You left it open. No, it just bothers me, Azure. Bro, Azure is uneducated. Plus, I think you're going to fail your SAT test since you in junior. Facts. Pure facts, bro. I think we should hold study sessions for Azure. What do you think? Is that something that you and I could team up to do XYZ? That was whiskey. Yes, it seems like they mix it in with coffee for this drink. Chuckling, Sachiko pulled out a plastic bottle of water from her handbag and handed it to me. I heard the horn of the ship resound again. Drinking my water straight from the bottle, I turned around and saw the ship. The ferry wasn't rocking too intensely on the water. I leaned over the railings and saw the ship's propellers making white foam waves below us. Each time the ship rode a high wave and sank back down, there'd be a big splash. This crisp, somewhat moist sea breeze gently cooled my cheeks. We didn't need to drink it all. I forgot all about the ship for a while there, but I'm okay. The wind feels really nice here. Sachiko was looking at the sky. I shifted my position on the railings, putting the back of my head against them, and followed suit in gazing up into the sky. There was a flock of seagulls flying above us. I followed them with my gaze, noticing that the port town we just left had already been enveloped by fog. All I could make out were the gray silhouettes of tall buildings looming on the slope. I turned toward the front of the ship and spotted the islands we were going to. It was visible from the port as well, but after getting closer, I also made out a lighthouse, as well as a rectangular white building that looked like it could have been a school. Large trees covered the eastern side of the island, hiding from view whatever else was there. The western side consisted of a large cliff of white rock. It's more beautiful than I thought. Sachiko was looking in the same direction. If I didn't know any better, I would have guessed it was anything but a prison. The island used to be a prison for isolating highly dangerous criminals. The place gained fame as an impossible-to-escape institution, making its way to countless movies and novels. Clank. One of the tourists tried his strength against the iron bars. The first building we visited consisted mostly of one long room with a tall ceiling and 3 rows of solitary cells on both sides. All the cells were small rectangles with white iron bars serving as doors. Plain concrete stairs with iron railings led to the upper floors. The room was so massive I felt like this road of cells would never end. I peeked into one of the cells and saw a bed, a water basin, and a toilet. I also spotted a picture frame and a magazine lying on the floor. Turning around, I looked at the other end of the passage. Countless parallel bars stretching on and on in my field of view overwhelmed me with feelings of seclusion and order. The path split into two once it reached the wall at the end, leading left and right. I could see the light seeping in through the open doors. The rectangular patch of light on the floor looked like another door. As I was staring at the light, a dark-haired woman passed by me. Sachiko, looking into the cells on the other side, reached the end of the tunnel, took a turn, then vanished from sight. Wait! I hurried after her. I ran up the concrete stairs. Once I reached the landing, I changed direction. By the way, did you know that the Japanese word for stair landings references dancing because that's kind of what you look like when you turn? When I was younger, I really thought it was a place where people dance. But isn't the same word used for stair landings where you don't need to turn? You have a point. Why did you suddenly bring that up anyway? I don't know, it just popped into my mind. We've only been seeing the foreigners and Western stuff as of late, so I guess I felt a little nostalgic for Japan. Stair landings came to us from the West though. Really? Speaking of which, this reminds me of the time we played tag at our apartment complex. You jumped out the window at the second floor landing and twisted your ankle. My ankle hasn't been the same since. Every time I turn my foot, it still creaks a bit. But man, you sure remember all that ancient history. Well, it was shocking enough to leave a lasting impression. I thought you were dumb for running into a dead end on those stairs, but I underestimated your stupidity. What kind of idiot would jump out a second floor window during a game of tag? Ugh. I was so pumped I didn't even think about the consequences. I mean, this is just the kind of stuff kids do, you know? Not me, that's for sure. As we finished climbing the stairs, Sachiko peeked into the cell to her left. I think this is the one. She urged me on with a glance. Yeah. It was a dummy shaped like a man lying on the bed, no doubt to trick the guards. Further into the cell, we spotted an air vent and a poster partially hiding a hole in the wall. Wow. An inescapable prison they once called the place. Yet there were indeed a few who managed to dig their way out with nothing but a handful of spoons. That hole is smaller than I thought. Does your voice not hurt you by voicing all this? No, my voice doesn't hurt. You've seen me do 6-hour streams, like, I'm good. She chuckled as she saw me imitating a guard inspecting the dummy of a flashlight. You gotta remember, I'm an extrovert, so I'm used to talking all the time. We continued down the main street of the building, walking shoulder to shoulder. Looking into the cells next to me, I spotted a blue canvas and some painting tools in one, a mountain of magazines and Bible pages scattered on the floor in another. It felt like each cell reflected the personality of its former owner. Some of the inhabitants seemed to have tried to utilize the small space they had by changing the positions on their beds or attaching shelves to the walls. The sight of what was most likely handcrafted furniture stood as a visible memento of the many years these people must have spent here. Doesn't look too bad, Sachiko abruptly spoke up. I considered her face. You get food every day, you're allowed to exercise to stay in shape, and you can spend all your time reading books. I feel lightheaded at the very thought of being locked up in such a cramped place. Doesn't matter where you are, the important part is what you do. You'd grow bored of reading if that was the only thing you do every day. Doesn't that also apply to the outside world? At least in the outside you're not alone. That makes it better. I guess so. Sachiko gave the handle leading to the showers a careful look. I lined up next to her and gave her face a careful look instead. Then I imitated taking a shower while Sachiko quoted a line from a movie. We've been together long enough to not need words to communicate. I felt happy about that. You can see the sea from there. Sachiko, walking in front, turned her head back to me and pointed ahead. The viewing deck from which we could see the sea looked like it could belong to a ship. Standing on it were a couple of giggling young girls enjoying their shopping. There was also a young man. He sat in focused silence, painting a picture. And there was a biker admiring the sea from the seat of his motorcycle. A tan man with dreadlocks dancing to reggae music. A woman sitting at the edge of the pier, writing poetry. An old couple simply gazing out at the sea. There were all sorts of people, each of them freely enjoying the sight of the sun gradually sinking below the horizon. Noticing that it was growing dark, I stood up from my chair and flipped on the light switch. Sanai filled our empty cups with freshly made tea. You didn't run into any ghosts and such? I took a sip from the steaming hot tea as Sanai asked that question. I don't believe in stuff like that. Honestly, if any place had them, it would be there. I mean, we're talking about the ruins of an old prison. You think so? Yes. Oh, now that I think about it, weren't there some famous ruins on this island too? Really? Sanai's expression clouded over as I directed my gaze beyond the window. I like ruins. It's pretty cool to know there used to be something magnificent right where you're standing. You feel like you've glimpsed something from the lives of people you've never met. Even if someone died there and you're seeing their ghost? Is there even a place on Earth that hasn't seen death? I mean, I'm sure someone died even in this very spot over the course of 1,000,000 years. Bet they even waged a war or two around here. I think it'd be much harder to find a place with no potential spirits wandering about. I see your point, but don't ruins make you feel somewhat uncomfortable? Like you said, they make you imagine all those things that were lost. I think it depends on your perspective. That doesn't scare me, at least. I suppose you're right. If anything, I'm much more scared of not knowing. Isn't that just your usual curiosity at work? Maybe. I've traveled all over the world after all. Traveling sounds like fun. Have you ever wanted to travel, Sanai? Sanai stopped her nod midway and cocked her head in thought. The twigs of a broad-leaved tree shivered beyond the window. The wind continued to howl. It almost felt like the scent of the sea drifted across the room. I think I'd be too scared to go to an unknown place. I'd probably want someone like you to accompany me. Yeah, and I'd be too worried to let you go all on your own. If it's okay with you, I wouldn't mind tagging along. You're used to traveling, so I'd definitely feel safer with you around. Won't argue with that. I can take you all around the world. The broad smile I made caused Sanai's lips to curl up as well, albeit only slightly. But she soon returned to normal. I do not mean to intrude, but why did you break up with that Sachiko person? Are you hearing this, guys? She broke up with Sachiko? No matter how hard I thought about it, I simply couldn't remember. It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. Sanai's voice brought me back to reality. Nah, I was just thinking. It's not like I don't want to talk about it, it's just that I can't really remember. Oh, do you think it's part of your condition? Probably. Certain things are missing from my memories, and when I try to think too much about them, I start losing my grasp on reality. In that state, despite being conscious, I wouldn't be able to see things right in front of me, and all sounds would feel distant, barely audible even. I felt like walking through a long, dark tunnel with no lights. With only the boundless darkness in front of me, I'd start losing track of whether I was moving ahead, standing in place, or actually going backwards. That sensation will only last for a few moments, though. The puddling thickens? Or the pudding? A sound similar to that of a grandfather clock striking the hours would suddenly make me realize I'd fallen awkwardly silent in the middle of a conversation. Look at the time. Aiko's gonna be here making her rounds any minute now. Seems that way. I think I'll be going then. I don't want her to get angry at me for making you stay up all night. It's about time you went to sleep, right? It is, yes. So I picked up the book she left on her bedside and returned it to the shelf. Good night. I stood up and returned the cane to its former position. Do you have any plans for tomorrow, Takako? Oh, sure. I'll go to the night duty room after this and ask Maiko about it. Do you have anything planned, Sanai? Do you think this is a story of, like, they both lost their memories and then they just, like, met different lovers? Like, Sachiko is gonna hook up with the person who helped her through the alleys, and like Takako is gonna hook up with Sanai. Like there's something going on here, man. Our library is open to the public on weekends, so I'll be there till noon. This has been on my mind ever since I'd first heard about it, but do people really ever come here? We have a few visitors from the outside, but there have been a number of people that came looking for old books. Saru, men or women? Damn, making psychos women? Remove the what the F? Why you gotta be toxic towards Saru, bro? Saru's been nothing but good to you, unlike me and XYZ, but this is how you gonna thank him? Can't blame him. There's no older building than this on the entire island. Merely remembering the amount of dust I discovered in the shades made my throat hurt. We had a few guests from the Western Ward too. Right, they don't have a library in that building, do they? That's right. Azure, men or woman? Bond? Damn, what the hell is a bond in that case? Tried remembering how that place looked, but I couldn't. Anyway, I'll drop by again sometime. Okay. Good night. Bond? Woman, alright. I know Azure, woman. I have to reminisce and I lay down on the bed. Dude, remember last weekend when she said she was going on a hot date with that friend of hers from 5th grade? That chick? Azure hands down into women, dude. I can see light seeping out through the window pane of the white wooden door. I turned the silver handle on the door and it opened with no resistance. As I removed my slippers and stepped on the tatami mat of the small living room, I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. Takako? My uncle's voice reached me from the same place I'd heard the sound. Good evening. Good evening. You shouldn't barge into people's rooms without knocking. I'm sorry. The door was unlocked, so I thought you were expecting me. I try not to lock doors in case of unexpected emergencies. I sat down in front of the table as Mayuko appeared from the kitchen and placed a cup of steaming hot tea in front of me. Thanks. You are welcome. Mayuko straightened her back and gave me a faint smile. Ah, that's right. She trotted back to the kitchen and returned with a red can. It made a popping sound as she opened it up. Using the lid as a coaster, she placed the can on the table. It was filled with cookies shaped like tubes, ribbons, and hearts. Their colors made me assume they were coffee and cocoa flavored, though some also seemed to contain chocolate and sugar. In any case, they were a sight for sore eyes. They looked delicious. I'm truly grateful for your help with the lights today. Please have some. Don't mind if I do. I picked up a tube-shaped cookie and put it into my mouth. There was something buttery and sweet inside it. The taste made me involuntarily smile. If this is the kind of stuff I get, I'll happily change those lights for you every day. I took a gulp of tea. I'll be sure to ask you again when help is needed. After I gulped down another star-shaped cookie with some tea and heaved a relaxed sigh, I suddenly recalled my initial goal in coming here. Oh, that's right. Is there anything I have to do tomorrow? Yes. Well, I'd like to ask you to do some cleaning. Again? This is an awfully large building for so few people, so we need to clean it, periodically, lest we find ourselves overwhelmed. I call that a pain in the neck. Please don't say that. What will you do? I'll be visiting the town. I almost jumped. I'll be stuck here cleaning everyone's mess while you're out and about in the town? How is that fair? Bond? What the F is a bond, bro? I asked, men or women? Bond. Apple crayons. That's not a choice. Shake my head. Well, now it is. I didn't say it was, so it's not. Well, I don't give any single Fs. From now on, I make the rules. What the hell? Yesterday we harvested more vegetables than expected, so I'm visiting the town to try and barter for something more easily preservable. I'll help you with the cleaning if I make it back in time. Micah showed me her palm in a soothing gesture. Can I go barter with them instead? I haven't driven a car in ages. I made a pretend gesture, acting like I was turning in an invisible wheel. I cannot allow a patient outside without supervision, but if we go together, there will be no one to handle the cleaning. Are you guys short on funds or something? I raised both my hands, trying to emphasize the importance of hiring a new cleaning lady. This is a sanatorium. We try to keep our staff to a minimum. I've heard they had more people in the northern ward, but where they bred all those cows and chickens? I don't believe they're all that different from us. Monica's cool demeanor proved her to be impenetrable to my suggestions. Jeez, whatever. In that case, I'm gonna ask for that. It's been a while anyway. That? After trying one of each type of cookie, I picked up an extra large one with beads of sugar on top. I put it in my mouth, closed the lid of the can, then moved it to the side of the table. Yes, that feels good. Here? You can do it harder. Like this? Yeah. Collapsed my upper half on the table as Maiko let go of my shoulders. Your shoulders weren't stiff at all, Takako. It's only normal to get a massage after some strenuous physical labor. I stood up and pulled out the futon from the closet. I moved the table aside, placed the futon on the floor, and laid down on it. No, you don't. You don't even stream. Number 1. Don't disrespect me. Number 2. Treat me like a queen. Now, thank you. You're just not a peasant like us. I ain't no peasant. I think you're talking about yourself. Okay, try to do it a bit more gently this time around. I'm not sure if I can keep up with you for much longer. Letting out a sigh, Maiko sat down on my back. Gihwe. How rude. Can you press here and there? Here and here? I pointed out the rough location of the spots I wanted her to rub. I didn't get that at all. I'll let you know if you start massaging a wrong spot. Maiko exhaled yet another sigh and pressed the area between my shoulder bones. A little bit lower. A gust of wind rattled against the window. I could hear it whistle through the cracks. The shadows began to slightly twist and sway in the corner of the room I'd been staring at. I looked up to see that the light above was swinging on its cord. That's some pretty strong wind. Probably some leftover sea breeze. We get strong winds near the end of autumn. After a while it calms down a bit and we end up with weaker but ultimately colder gusts. Sanai told me the same thing earlier today. The window frame rumbled again. You talked to Sanai? Yeah, we discussed the book she lent me, then I told her about one of my trips. One of your trips? I'd love to hear about that myself. I don't feel like telling the whole thing all over again on the same day, maybe some other time. Maiko gave my shoulders a light yet reassuring knock on the wrist. That's good. I see you've grown quite close to Sanai. There are so few people here, and it's always better to have more friends, no? Yeah. Thanks to that, Sanai seems a lot more cheerful lately. Even her condition has improved. Really? Well, we found her in the library, didn't we? She used to never voluntarily leave her room, regardless of the weather, and her facial expressions have grown richer. I'm pretty sure it's your influence. Well, if you keep talking to people, you eventually end up taking on their facial expressions too, I guess. Is that so? I mean, talking means conveying one's feelings, right? And to do that, gestures and expressions are sometimes even more important than the words themselves. Like, you know, body language and all that jazz. I suppose that makes sense. The wind seemed to have calmed down, making the room feel as though it was floating in a calm sea. By the way, did you know that the whites of human eyes serve to make eye contact easier? Maybe you've noticed that very few animals actually have them. In the animal kingdom, where survival of the fittest is the law of the land, having one's actions read from their appearance would be fatal. Meanwhile, all people need is a single look to convey their thoughts. If that continues to evolve, I wonder if words and facial expressions will become outdated as well. If that happened, things that convey emotion like books, music, and pictures might vanish alongside them. Sounds like an awfully dull world if you ask me. On the other hand though, by understanding each other perfectly, we might be able to eliminate suffering. Religion and war might cease to exist. You could be right, but without books, Sanai would be out of a job. Oh, that would certainly be unfortunate. Maiko seemed to have fallen deep in thought. Hey, your hand stopped moving. I want more massaging, more I say. Maiko gave me a patronizing okay as I decided to express my dissatisfaction in a childish manner. After enjoying the touch of her hands for a while, I suddenly thought of something. Must be a queen of peasants. Nah, not me. You ain't no queen. Can't even read. And you slow. Not even on 5G. What is it? It's about what we discussed earlier, but doesn't Sanai communicate with anyone else? Well, for starters, there aren't many people for her to talk to. In the past, we had a bit more patience, but most of them left us right before your admission. I see. There are multiple reasons why one would leave a sanatorium. Some of them might not have been exactly cheerful, but then I don't really know everything about Sanai either. I started working here after she was already a patient. Really? Yes. I'm not that different from you on that front. Well, if there's a difference, it's that I have access to the medical records. As Maiko begins to focus more on the conversation, her hands stop. How bad is Sanai's amnesia anyway? I doubt I'm allowed to discuss that without explicit permission from the person concerned. You shouldn't ask things like that so lightly. Maiko suddenly added more strength into her grip and squeezed my shoulder. Yeah, I thought I may be of some help if I knew more. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with those groups where people share their problems with each other and that makes them feel better and stuff. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to share that information, just that if you want to know about it, you should probably ask her directly. You can do that, can't you, Takako? We're getting along pretty well right now, so I probably won't. In that case, I don't see the problem. You can hear the sound of a swinging pendulum clock from somewhere. Speaking of which, have you already written your diary entry for today, Takako? I'd completely forgotten all about it until she brought it up. Not really. It's one of your duties as a patient. I feel like I could totally start writing if I got rid of this stiffness in my waist. I kicked the futon with my feet a few times, making Maiko exhale another sigh. My fingers are starting to hurt. Just a bit more. Just a bit then. Maiko shifted her position closer to my waist. Damn, she knows how to play her cards, bro. I dashed forward through the corridor with my arms pressing the cleaning rag against the floor. The wet trail I left on the floor was easily discernible due to its darker, more vivid color. With some more force added, I managed to make a single swipe take care of most of the dirt. The smell of wet wood flooded my nostrils. It made me remember the time I had to clean the floor back in school. I read somewhere that the memory area of the brain is sensitive to smell. I didn't know how many times I smelled this odor when I was still in school, nor did I have any idea to the amount of cleaning I did. I most likely had experience with classrooms, corridors, toilets, the teacher's room, the roof of the principal's office, and the local train station. Cleaning the teacher's room was punishment for something I did, but long story short, I had become quite an expert at handling wet rags. The thought made me smile as I continued to go back and forth along the old floor, enjoying the smell of wet wood. Eventually, all of my trails connected, leaving not a speck of dirt in the corridor. The trail I made first had almost completely dried up. I used just the right amount of water, neither too little nor too much, and so the final result was nothing short of perfection, if I said so myself. Phew, sometimes I surprise even myself. With the second floor corridor done, I pulled out Maiko's memo from my pocket. Let's see. Took out a pen from the same pocket, pressed the memo against the wall, and crossed out second floor corridor from the items listed on it. Next up would be, I spotted a window that could have still used some cleaning. The window frame was covered in dust. I imagine Maiko brushing her finger against this windowsill, showing off the dust collected on it with an angry expression on her face. The actual Maiko, after having breakfast and stuffing the back of her car with a box of vegetables, left for town, promising to be back by noon. Might as well. I walked over to the bucket at the foot of the stairs. After all, I was the uncrowned champion of wet rags. The somewhat chilly wind from the sea cooled off my body after it heated up from all that exercise. Leaning against the wooden frame of the window, I gazed up at the blue sky. Then I shifted my view toward the scenery of the port town. Then I inspected the entrance to our sanatorium. Then I spent a few moments gazing at the large tree next to the parking lot. Slagging off, the sheer abruptness of her voice nearly made me fall out the window. I turned around and saw Sanai standing in front of me. She seemed to have returned using the connecting corridor. I kept the door behind her open to keep the air circulating. I almost fell out and broke my legs, you know. If that happened, I would let you have my job. You mean taking care of the library? All you have to do is sit in place and read books. That doesn't sound too bad. Have you finished cleaning? I'm finished with this place at least. What about you? It's almost 12 o'clock, so I was on my way to have lunch. Wait, it's already noon? Sanai pulled up the sleeve of her turtleneck and checked her wristwatch. It's going to be 12 in 15 minutes. If you haven't eaten yet, we could have lunch together. I wanted to grab something to eat, but after remembering the cleaning list, I changed my mind. Nah, I'm a little behind as it is, and Mayako should be back soon enough. I want to clean at least one more room before she arrives. I see. We walked back to the stairs where I had left my bucket. I waved Sanai goodbye as she descended. Once she was gone, I picked up the bucket and the rag. Gotta hurry this up. Continued to the next room to clean. According to the list, it was the furthest room on the west side of this corridor. I placed the bucket on the ground and tried turning the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. Huh. Rustle. Did she forget to unlock it? Didn't seem like the lock or the handle were rusted. All the rooms that weren't in use were usually locked, and Mayako was the only one who had the keys. I let the knob go and stood in front of the door, not knowing what to do. When I turned around, deciding to follow Sanai to the dining room, I spotted the doorknob of the adjacent room. I stopped and returned to it. As I turned the knob, the door opened with a low creaking sound. Oh. I entered the room slightly disappointed. I parted the curtains on the opposite end of the room. The afternoon sun peeked into the room, outlining its contours. The room itself was of the same design. It seemed to have been used to store old furniture. I could spot a big sofa, a ceramic vase, a wall clock, and a lamp, all ancient looking and covered in dust. Careful not to disturb anything too much, I swept my rag across the floor. The rag turned black from dirt, prompting me to chuck it into my bucket. After a bit of washing, though, I realized it ended up blackening the water as well. Hold on, guys. I'm making some notes of things that I need to do. I wrung out the rag. My skin broke out in goosebumps as I pulled my hand out of the water. Even the temperature felt lower in this lonely room. Okay, I think this is a good list of things that I need to do, so I don't have to have them in the back of my head. A gust of air touched my wet hand, making me shiver. The dry, cold air stimulated my nostrils through the mask as I inhaled. I considered the door and the windows. I had both of them closed to prevent air circulation from disturbing all the dust in the room. Feeling an odd discrepancy about the atmosphere in the room, I tensed up. I slowly looked around myself. Do you even know what crayons looks like, Azure? The room hadn't changed. The old and discarded pieces of furniture remained still and silent around me. I checked the corners of the room, but I still couldn't shake off this feeling of odd discomfort. As I slowly moved my head up and down, I suddenly started hearing a sound. It sounded like a faint howling coming from the distance. I strained my ears, falling completely motionless. The mysterious sound reminded me of the soughing of the sea you could hear from seashells. It felt as though it came here from the opposite side of some long tunnel. I strained my ears again, hoping to maybe find a hole in the room somewhere. But this time I heard a different sound. It was a weak rumbling noise from beyond the window. It was coming from the direction of the road, growing louder and louder until I heard the sound of tires running over the dirt of our parking lot. Opening the window, I peeked out and saw a car parked down below. After a few moments, its doors opened and Mayuko stepped outside. Welcome back. Mayuko looked up at me. Thanks. Aren't you a bit early? I might be. Could you come down and help me carry some of the bags? I thought you wanted me to clean your house. I brought presents. I closed the window and upon returning to the room, hung the rag on the edge of the bucket. Putting my cleaning duties on hold for the time being, I left the room. I've only seen his eyes. So what happens if you find out you're actually not attracted to him then, like, appearance-wise, physically? Sanai, I brought something cool for you. I entered Sanai's room and placed the wooden box atop the cabinet near the corner. As the waist-high glass-windowed cabinet had nothing else on top of it, the box felt almost like it was meant to be placed there. What's that? A record player. Sanai was a bit overwhelmed at first, but once she heard my words, the corners of her lips curled up in anticipation. The front of the black, wooden box had a drawer with a glass cover as well as two square-shaped holes above it. The holes were plugged with what looked like coarse cloth. I unplugged and fixed them with a metal fitting, then sticking my hand behind the box, I found a cable and pulled it closer to myself. With cable in hand, I moved to my usual seat and bent over. I moved the cane chair out of the way with my free hand. I think it should be around here. And just as I expected, there was an electrical socket behind the cane chair. I plugged the cable I still carried in my right hand into it. Are you sure you can have it? It looks expensive. I stood up from under the shadow of the chair, brushing dust off my hands. I found it abandoned in the storeroom. I already have permission from Mayuko, and besides, I'm going to be listening to this as well, so you don't need to think too much about it. I picked up the brown paper bag I left by the cabinet earlier. I opened up its glass doors and began lining up the records I pulled out from the paper bag. Why should I care about his appearance? I don't know, man. That's what people say, but real talk, appearance can be a deal breaker. Found the records alongside it, and there are some extras I found in the library later. I'll leave everything in your room, okay? Sure. Sanai adjusted the glasses on her nose and gave the records a long, hard look from the distance. Well then, let's see if this thing still works. Is there anything you want to listen to, Sanai? I inspected the records with my fingers as I finished lining them up. I don't know much about music, so I'm okay with whatever you pick, Takako. Okay then. In that case, I scanned through the records and picked out the one with the picture of an old blue Pidgeot on it. I said Pidgeot on purpose, guys, because that looks like a Pokemon name. I took the record of its case and placed it on a rotating turntable. I then raised the tone arm with my finger and slowly put it on the spinning record. After a brief noise, clear sound filled the room. That's a nice song. Seems to be working just fine. I picked up the Pidgeot record case. I'm gonna keep saying Pidgeot, because I don't know what that word is, and saying Pidgeot is easier. I don't think this is the right case, though. I wish Mayuko was more careful with these. Sanai let out a small snicker as I began investigating the other cases. It might not have been here. It might not have been her. I haven't seen Mayuko use a record player before, so it's entirely possible it was some other person. There were more people here before you came. Mayuko said the same thing. When you two put it like that, it sounds like it's almost my fault everyone left. Not at all. Everyone is free to come and go as they please. As they please, huh? Well, I suppose that's not entirely true. This sanatorium is open for people with special memory disorders. But it's not like it offers any kind of treatment. There's no clear treatment for what we have in any case. This is just a place for people who would find it problematic to survive on the outside because of their symptoms. As such, once that reason is no longer applicable, everyone leaves. That's all there is to it. For people who would find it problematic to survive on the outside, yes. The specific details of our conditions don't really matter beyond that. She had an extra at all for emphasis. What about the whole reason no longer being applicable part? What happened here exactly? For example, there was a person who couldn't do his job because of his fits. However, he eventually found a new occupation where he would work from home, which eliminated his reason for staying here. I see. You won't cause anyone problems if the fit happens at home with no one else around. And you should be okay as long as you have your diary and memos. You can make do without being locked up in this place. That's right. There were some people who discovered the frequency of their fits, and after some planning managed to return to their normal lives. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen any of yours. When was the last time you had one? I realized I might have pried too deep, letting out an awkward but there was no change in Sanai's expression. She simply asked if I was okay. You don't need to tell me if you don't want to. I don't really mind. Though in my case, it's been such a long time, I don't think I remember anymore. Oh. I thought she was having trouble when I wasn't looking, but it seemed like that wasn't the case. But then how long are you still planning to be here? Sanai considered the room's ceiling. Good question. I suppose I don't have a significant reason to remain here. It's just that I've been here for so long that going outside sounds like too much of a hassle at this point. There was a reason I originally came, but after spending enough time here, I overcame it. After getting so used to this place, I could no longer find a good enough reason for leaving. You're only here because it's more convenient this way? Yes. After that, she fell completely silent. Well, I suppose it's a pretty relaxing place to be. There was little noise here, with no people around. Why are you here, Takako? Sanai addressed me just as I was about to change the subject. It's because of that damn ringing in my ears. I don't think it's anything serious, but everyone around me got needlessly worked up. Before I knew it, I was here? That's all. I see. Wait, so she has the same ringing in her ears as Sachiko? Are you feeling better now? Yeah. It wasn't that bad to begin with. Sanai made a complicated expression of relief mixing with slight disappointment. So you're planning to leave soon, Takako? Nah, I've got no concrete plans yet. I see. Mayuko doesn't want to let her precious workforce go. Sanai made a complicated face again, almost as though she didn't know what to say. A slightly unfitting background music was playing behind her. It made me feel somewhat gloomy. It was difficult to describe, much like her expression from before. People said that you look cute in school. I'm gonna be honest, I never trust people's opinions of themselves, even if it's based on other people's feedback. Cause there's been like a few girls who I've met online, and they're like, "Oh, people say I'm cute," and they have a face reveal, and I'm just kind of like, eh. I'm not impressed. I don't care what other people say about you. All that matters is my final verdict. Ha ha ha. That's how I feel about like when people say that. I used to believe them. I used to be like, oh, this person says everyone thinks they look good, so maybe they look good. They probably look great. And then I realized, it doesn't matter if a lot of people told you look great. You might not look as good as all that shit that was said. I tried dropping by the night duty room later that night, but Mayuko wasn't there. With the door locked and me unable to wait inside, I had no choice but to return to my own room and lay down on the bed. The cold sheets I pulled on robbed me of warmth. I stretched my legs as far as I could, ignoring the cold. After shifting to my back, I closed my eyes. It had been a while since I'd seen that weird pattern behind my eyelids. It would sometimes flicker like an old film reel, and there were letters spinning around in a spiral pattern. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was the alphabet. I wondered if it spelled out any sensible words, but soon realized that the letters would deform and change shape once I began to focus on them, so I stopped looking. All the conversations I had throughout the day raced through my mind. If only I had said this or that back then. As I began to ponder my conversation with Sanai, I suddenly realized that she never really told me why she was originally sent here. I wondered what was wrong with her. Was this some kind of untreatable fits? She said the only people who couldn't live normally on the outside would be sent here, and she got better after spending some time at the sanatorium, but she never left, realizing that life was more convenient in this place. Nowadays she worked mornings in the library, and spent the rest of the day reading either there or in her own room. For an extreme bookworm like Sanai, life at a sanatorium is perhaps more comfortable than in the outside world. I wonder if that could be true. I thought this was a place for people to seek temporary solace from the hardship and fatigue of the real world. An environment completely isolated from the outside where you'd relax and collect your thoughts for a while, then once you had rested up, you would think of a way to resolve your problems. However, no matter how I looked at Sanai, she didn't seem to be particularly ill. Was she more suited for life in a sanatorium to begin with? Or did she only become that way after coming here? I remember what she told me about how the whites of human eyes evolved. With them, you could indicate the direction of your gaze to your peers. In nature, it had the disadvantage of potentially revealing your escape route or target it to others. However, in society, it had the benefit of helping communication. Sanai loved books and lived her life completely immersed in them. However, being outside, she'd have to allocate some of that time to other things, and that was most likely a big drawback for her. In here, she could work at a library, which was obviously a huge bonus. I felt that something about this wasn't quite right. I began to think, what problem in the outside world could have driven her to come to this place? Yet my train of thought soon drifted toward comparing the outside world to the sanatorium, nature to society, and evolution itself. People say I'm hot. Nah, JK, I'm a solid 2 out of 10. Gee, would you rather live in a water park or a jungle? Water park. I decided to return to my initial point. So now I faced a certain problem outside. As a result, she ended up at the sanatorium. Here at the sanatorium, her problem was solved. She even prefers to live here now. If I had to draw a parallel with evolution, she was like a fish who used to live in the sea, but due to some problem, either lack of food or too many predators, ended up evolving lungs to move to the surface. On the surface, there was plenty of food and few predators. As she spent her time on the surface, she developed arms and legs. Life there became even more convenient. I still feel like something was off about this. In this scenario, the fish left the poor environment for a richer one. The sanatorium, however, was an environment both smaller and poorer than the outside world. It reminded me of whales and dolphins that, despite having spent some time on the surface, always returned to the sea. Sanai, unable to endure the rigorous competition that the otherwise plentiful and delicious food on land required, decided to return to the calm sea. Sanai was like a fish. I imagined her sitting at the bottom of the sea reading a book and chuckled to myself. I'm just chilling with my cat right now. Is your cat actually one of those cheetahs that you met in a pit? I wish I could tell her to come up and bask in the sun at least once in a while. I could imagine her making a troubled face at that comment. She was looking at me. I felt a strong sense of deja vu. I suddenly heard a sound similar to what a phonograph would make as it reached the end of the record. All my thoughts were swept away in an instant. That was a sign of an ear-ringing fit. I felt completely motionless, trying to avoid causing any rustling. I took a deep breath so as not to panic. I could hear the sound of the air. Listening in, I slowly confirmed that no sound seemed to be exaggerated. The ear ringing didn't happen. Exhaling, I glanced at the clock on the side table. It was 1 a.m. Roughly the time I thought it would be. Closed my eyes again. I pulled the already warm sheets up to my shoulders. I fixed the position of the pillow to make sure my head was at the same height it would be when I was standing straight. After a while, I saw that weird pattern again. I felt like I could see Sanai in the form of a fish swimming through the darkness. Sleep wouldn't come just yet. The heels of my shoes clicked against the stone pavement of the inner yard. Surrounded by the walls of the sanatorium from 3 sides, the center of the inner yard gave home to a small hill with a tall camphor tree growing in the middle. We're surrounded by a stone-paved road, beds of flowers and benches. Tired from walking, I walked closer to the tree, hoping to take a break in the shade of its leaves. Said leaves helped a little, though. They continued to shift, letting the sunlight through. However, light clouds began to gather in the sky instead. Good morning. Hey Mayuko, morning. What are you doing here? Taking care of the flowers. She was stooping in front of the flower bed with a small shovel in hand. Looking up, I saw that most of the sky was already blanketed by clouds. Clouds seem to be kind of reassembling above us. You sure you're gonna be okay? Michael looked up at the sky as well. On the radio, they said it would be a clear day. Indeed, according to the broadcast, the possibility of rain today was 0. I listened to that as well, but I'm not sure if I can trust it with the sky being the way it is now. Mayako returned her gaze to me. I think I should still be okay if I finish my lunch. Is there anything I can do to help? Are you sure? As long as you make me some tea afterwards, sure. Mayako narrowed her eyes and smiled. I crouched in front of one of the flower beds and dug a hole in the soil mimicking Mayako. I took out the seedling from the pot she had with her, and sticking it in the hole, covered its roots with dirt. Here you go, Taikago. She handed me a pot with a small flower of purple, red, and white petals. What happened to Saru? Well, they haven't mentioned ice cream floats in a while, so I don't know if he'll pop up. That's a cute one. How come it has multiple colors? Is that heart size? It's called a primrose. Mayako answered me in a cheerful tone. She had about 20 seedlings with her. Those flowers were just as colorful as heart seeds. Even in their randomly aligned pots, they still look beautiful. We're lucky to have that many flower beds. Can I plant them in any order I want? Yeah, go ahead. Those can be group planted, so you're free to arrange them in any way you wish. I'm good at this kind of thing. I'll make an art piece out of these things. Rolling up my sleeves, I inspected both the flowers and the flower beds. Do you like flowers? Yeah. Well, not enough to become a gardener or anything, but I like them. What's your favorite flower? Mayako addressed me as she stirred the soil, adjusting the position of the red flower she planted. I like morning glories and tulips. Did you used to grow them at school? Yeah. The ones you grow are always the dearest to you, right? Didn't the pots feel heavy when you had to bring them home before summer break? They sure did. You were allowed to take them a week before the break, but everyone would always delay it to the last day. I can imagine you only bringing back your lunch bags and sportswear on the day of the closing ceremony. I see you understand me well. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna check something. I think I heard the doorbell. BRB while I go check the door. And I also need to take something out the fridge, I think, to defrost it a little. Rune Factory 4 arrived in the mail. So for those of you who don't know, Rune Factory 4 is kind of like a farming simulator game that also, I believe, has some like exploration, JRPG, action battle elements to it. And I got Rune Factory 4 on the Switch because it was half off, 20 bucks. Apparently it's a special edition of some sort. I remembered how this one time I had to carry a huge pot in both hands with my sportswear bag attached to it with a knapsack hook. Oh damn, I missed something. How do I go back? Shit, go back. Ah well. As I talked, I decided where I wanted to plant the flowers and sensitively placed them on the flower bed. As I began balancing them out, Michael glanced at my handiwork. Ah, don't you feel the purple one will look better here? You think so? That's the feeling I get, at least. If possible, I like that aside to have more red and pink. Michael made several gestures to point out her preferred positions. I see. So you want to balance the colors out to an extent? It would look more beautiful that way, wouldn't you agree? Gotcha. Then how about this? I changed the positions of a few flowers according to her instructions. That's good. I really like it. Okay, then I'll go with this. Giyu, do you want to read my fanfic? Thank you. It was my first time seeing Mayako be so into something. I don't think I want to read your fanfic, honestly. I lightly patted the soil to check if it was ready for planting. As I was lining up the red flowers the way Mayako wanted them, something tiny moved inside my field of view all of a sudden. Have you even read the lore that I wrote that's in my Discord? That includes... I don't think it includes anyone that you know, honestly, except for Ronzo. But have you even read my lore? Like, dude. A caterpillar. There was an out-of-season yellowish-green caterpillar crawling along the flower bed. It was moving toward Maiko's direction. Where is it? There. Ah. It's a Ulysses butterfly. We can't let it wander around here. Maiko scooped up the caterpillar along with some of the soil, then lightly flung it toward the central tree. You're okay with bugs? I like butterflies. Maiko continued trimming the roots of a seedling as she addressed me. Is there anything you're scared of, Mayuko? Well, there's a thing or two I'm afraid of, naturally. And what would that be? She looked straight at me. I'd rather not say it. Come on, it's not like you have anything to lose. I carefully pulled out the pink flower from the pot and placed it on the soil. I can't help but feel you'll end up using it in some prank against me if I told you. I won't. How old do you think I am? Anyway, let's finish this before it starts raining. Mayuko pursed her lips, ignoring everything else I tried to say. I was busy clearing out the withered flowers and old grass from another flower bed when I spotted a drop of water splashing against its reddish-brown bricks. As I gazed at that phenomenon, another drop of rain fell on my head. I could hear the light pattering of rain as it fell onto the tree leaves. Here comes the rain. Mayuko brushed her sweat off of her sleeve. Sakako, please go back ahead of me. What are you planning to do? I'll finish this row first. Well, okay. I stood up holding an empty pot and a bag of old grass, then hurried toward the door leading back into the building. I opened the door and left all the things I'd been carrying at the entrance. Then I continued down the hallway, its wooden floorboards creaking against each of my steps, toward the night duty room. Whoosh. Returning to the inner yard, I found Mayuko still crouching in front of the flower bed despite the rain. I walked up to her and opened up the umbrella I found in the night duty to shield her from the downpour. Thank you very much. She looked up at me, still crouched. A lot of people would be inconvenienced if you caught a cold. Does that include you, Takako? Of course. Mayuko chuckled. I'll prepare the bath as soon as I'm back. The rain continued to beat down against the umbrella as well as the leaves of the camphor tree. The mosaic-styled floor of the bath that Mayuko had just cleaned sparkled in the light. On the other end of the room, I could see a bunch of yellow plastic bowls neatly arranged in the shape of a mountain. I sat down in front of the shower and turned its handle. The moment I did, the lonely bathroom hall was filled by the sound of running water. I love cats so much. Bro, forget about cats. We're about to get the bath scene. After spraying the hot water all over myself, I took extra care to wash off the dirt got on my hands and under my fingernails. Once I was done with that, I continued to the bathtub. It had underwater stairs on both ends to make it easier to descend. The first step reached up to my knees. I stepped on it, sending a wave across the tub. Countless ripples disturbed the previously calm surface of the water. Ow, ow, ow. I had jumped up to my shoulders right away, sending some of the steaming water from the black bathtub splashing across the mosaic-style tiles surrounding it. I caught my basket before it could be swept away, then placed it on the edge of the bath. After that, I lay down on my back to rest my head against the same edge. The bath here sure is great. I heaved a relaxed breath. Upside down shower head and the black wooden ceiling filled my vision. The lights below the showerhead were on, perhaps due to the cloudy weather. As I gave it a closer look, I managed to make out orange filaments inside the otherwise white tube. Steam drifted lazily across the bathroom. It looked soft and strikingly white compared to its murky surroundings. My gaze wandered up the wooden wall, almost pitch black after many years of use, and settled on the windows above. The bottom one seemed to have been made of wavy glass. I could hear the beat of the rain against them. Such a pervert, GU? Bro. I don't know who you're talking about, but that ain't me. I heard the rattling sound of the bathroom door being slid open behind me. Turning around, I saw Mayuko with her front hidden by a towel. I smiled as our eyes met. Cheers, Mayuko. Hello again. How is the water? Mayuko slowly descended the stone stairs. At the foot of the stairs, there was an odd lamp that reminded me of Western street lamps. As Mayuko passed by it, the light illuminated her milky white skin. Not bad. You should hurry up and come over here. Reaching one of the shower mirrors, Mayuko sat down on a wooden stool. I have to wash off all of this dirt first. Mayuko picked up a basket from the neighboring stand and put it on her own. Then, lowering her towel to her knees, she reached out toward the shower handle. Be careful, that one's gonna be pretty hot. I tried to warn her, but she'd already turned the handle by the time I finished. She turned the water off almost immediately. Why on earth is this so hot? Sorry, I used the same shower just now. Mayuko picked up the shower head, made it face toward her basket, and turned the handle again. She then fiddled with the blue and red knobs for a while, adjusting the temperature of the water. I thought I'd be boiled alive. She narrowed her eyes as she stuck her hand into the shower stream. I moved closer to her stand, sending waves across the bathtub. First of all, I'm Oni-san. I'm not Dad. Second of all, bro, why are you acting like the kids at my job? Tell me a story. I just told you guys a story about me camping in the woods. I literally have a Discord channel full of stories. Go read the lore. If you want a story, go read the lore. That's what I'm gonna say to you. After confirming the temperature with her palm, Mayuko began to wash herself. If you don't want to read the lore, then I can send you YouTube videos after stream of the lore, and you can watch the YouTube videos. She pulled her hair up with one hand and sprayed water on her neck, letting it trickle down the length of her back. Hey, want me to wash your back? Mayuko slightly turned my way after I addressed her, but soon changed her mind and shifted her gaze back to the mirror. I would appreciate it. Oh, so I really can? After rising out of the bathtub, spraying water all around me, I brought a stool behind Mayuko and sat down on it. I was joking, actually. You know what? I don't even need to actually send you videos of the lore. Right below it, a lore channel where you could read the lore. There's a lore video channel where you could just listen in on the videos of the lore. And it has all 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters. Go read the lore later. I mean, listen to the lore, whatever. Don't forget to comment on all the videos so you can get loyalty points. Mayuko turned around slightly and handed me her towel. After taking the towel in one hand, I proceeded to place a piece of soap on it. I don't get many opportunities to have my back washed here, so I've always wanted to try it at least once. Is that so? It's my first time, so please be gentle. Mayuko made a coquettish smile. Leave it to me. I smeared some of the soap on the towel and began washing her back. It was even whiter than I had thought, and it was moving slightly in sync with her breathing. I moved the soapy towel from her shoulders to her waist. How is it? Not bad at all. Glad to hear it. I rested my head against the edge of the bath and considered the ceiling. There was no trace of any lights on it. However, there was an odd, slanted line going across its center. It seemed like the ceiling consisted of 2 rows of planks, and that line was a chink between them. The light seeping in through it illuminated the room. Hey Mayuko, how do you change those lights over there? I addressed Mayuko without changing my position. My voice echoed across the wide bathroom. You can reach the fluorescent lamps there with a stepladder. So those were fluorescent lamps too? That's boring. What did you think they were? I was hoping something more romantic, like say a breeding ground of fireflies between those planks, something like that. Is that romantic? Sounds creepy to me. Really? Reminds me of a bad horror movies. What about luminous moss then? Sounds pretty bad too. Why? I don't know, to me it just feels kind of wrong to mix the artificial with something living. Really? A cold drop of water fell on my eyelids, distracting me from the conversation. Narrowing my eyes, I noticed that the ceiling was covered with them. They were slowly moving across the planks, accumulating at their edges and dropping down once they'd grown big enough. Spotting one of them right above my head, I had instinctively closed my eyes and turned my head sideways. I'm the only one in the stream? Where is everyone? I don't know. Ronzo is probably, since Ronzo said that she was moving, she's probably like packing things up today for her move. Toby is probably out partying. XYZ and Saru, who knows? They might be eating or doing something in the background. I don't know. Instead of the sensation of cold water splashing against my eyelids, I felt dull pain as I hit my temple against something hard. What are you doing? Nothing. I sat up, rubbing my aching head, and met Mayuko's worried gaze. Seemed like I hit my head against the faucet. It was located slightly above the rest of the bath's edge. Its constant stream of hot water served to keep the water in the bath fresh. Lord hasn't said his hello today. That's pretty mysterious. There was a small plate with salt on it. How you know I'm eating? Bro. I can smell the rice from here. Oh, Mayuko, is there something wrong with this bath? No, Azure, you're not special. I'm always here. Mayuko gave me this puzzled look. What do you mean? Is it haunted or something? No. What on earth gave you that idea? Mayuko seemed concerned. And why is there salt here? Just in case. I figured it wouldn't hurt to have some here. I don't know, salt reminds me of exorcisms and stuff. Why would you keep any here if there's no point to it? It's for cleansing yourself. Then leave it someplace where it's harder to spot. Wouldn't that just make it creepier for those who end up finding it? You have a point. Mayuko made an audible sniff as we left the bathroom. Drops of water dripped down onto the wooden floor. Here you go. I picked up 2 towels from a shelf and handed one to Mayuko. Mayuko wrapped herself in the towel, then pulled off a smaller one from the shelf and wrapped that around her head. I wiped myself dry with one towel, walked to the long shelf that had the basket with my clothes in it, and began changing. I put on my underwear and was pulling my sweater over my head when... Achoo! Did you catch a cold or something? After managing to jab my head through the collar, I carefully pulled my hair through it. Once I finished changing, I glanced toward Mayuko and noticed she still only had a towel on even as she was drying her hair. You should put on some clothes before you start getting cold. Alright. I'm always here lurking or chatting. Showed one person on the stream for me. For me, it's showing 2. After we both returned to the night duty room, following our bath, Mayuko went off into the kitchen to prepare some tea. I was about to pull a seat cushion closer to myself to sit on when my eyes wandered to a vase on the windowsill. A branch of the camphor tree from the inner yard rested in it, with a yellowish green caterpillar crawling along one of its leaves. Which was me, only me. No, shaking my head. You took it with you. There was a newspaper laid under the vase. Yes, I thought it might drown in that rain. I could hear Mayuko's voice from the kitchen. The caterpillar pointed its 2 antennae at me and turned completely motionless. Tried addressing the thing with a good for you, but it showed no reaction. Mayuko came into the room carrying a tray with a teapot and 2 teacups on it. Once she reached the table, she filled the cups with steaming tea and handed one to me. After taking a sip, I let out a brief sigh. Having a bath at noon is a wonderful thing. I agree. The hum of rainfall filled the silence of the room. The sky was covered by a host of dark clouds, giving our surroundings an evening-like gloom. Mayuko stuffed her nose. I took the thermometer from Mayuko's hands, who herself was lying in bed. The red line of the mercury-filled tube had decreased to 39 degrees Celsius. I shook the thermometer to cool it down, then put it back into its case. They say that doctors don't follow their own advice, but what about nurses? Mayuko slightly furrowed her brows in indignation, but ultimately said nothing. After cooling off the towel in the silver bowl and squeezing most of the water out of it, I placed it on the still protesting Mayuko's forehead. I bet you caught it on the day we planted those flowers. Mayuko avoided my eyes. Your temperature has dropped a little. How do you feel? Slightly better. At this rate, I'll be back on my feet by tomorrow. Do try to get better as soon as possible. We can manage when it comes to a number of things, but neither Sanai nor I know how to cook. Mayuko-san did a chuckle, her lips curling into a broad smile. I'll cook something nice for you two tomorrow. Well, you don't need to overdo it. I can handle making breakfast. There were 2 camphor tree branches in the porcelain vase resting on the windowsill. On one of their leaves sat a yellowish-green caterpillar. The whole site was illuminated by moonlight. Mayuko coughed a few times. Need some water? Yes, please. Her voice was barely audible, so she added a nod to Rima before her answer. I stood up and walked into the kitchen. I like how you keep mentioning the caterpillar. I don't know why. I'm always here, don't even. I picked up Mayuko's teacup from the shelf and filled it up with tap water. Once I was done, I returned to Mayuko with cup in hand. It keeps saying like 2 or 3 for me. I never saw it say 1. I'll lift you up. I can get up by myself. Hey, no need to be shy with me now. I slid my arm behind her back and slowly lifted her up. Here you go. I offered Mayuko the cup. She took it with both hands and began drinking in slow gulps. I could hear the gong of the wall clock striking the hour from the corridor. I think I'll be going to bed soon. Okay. I prevented Mayuko from getting up. Hey, you need to lie still. Thank you very much. I feel much better now. Mayuko narrowed her eyes and smiled as she lay back down. I picked up the towel that had since slipped down onto her chest and after cooling it down in the water again, placed it back on her forehead. Afterwards, I grabbed her now empty teacup and walked over to the kitchen to fill it back up with water. Once I was done with that, I placed the cup next to her bed. Thank you very much. Don't stay up too late, okay? I moved toward the door and turned back one more time before leaving. Good night. Good night. Returning to my room, I could see my curtains flapping in the wind. I rushed inside to close the window as soon as I could. I looked down at the floor. I felt like parts of it had become more expressed in color, but I couldn't see well in the freshly turned on and still somewhat dim light. The rain seemed to have become even stronger. The room was suddenly enveloped in blinding light as I sat down on the bed. I could hear 3 intimidating rumbles in the distance. Another thread of light pierced the skies while I was looking outside, causing my room to momentarily light up. I spent a few more minutes watching the lightning and stood up. I carefully opened the door to the night duty room. Takako? Oh, so you were awake. After taking off my slippers, I stepped inside. Yes. I was just looking outside. Coast is gonna stream in 10 minutes in the GCGU. That's fine, I'm not gonna watch. The room suddenly lit up again. Mayuko closed her eyes and opened them again. Can I sleep here? You might end up catching my cold. Oh, it'll be fine, really. I've got good resistance against these things. I opened up the closet, grabbed another futon, laid it down next to Mayuko, and promptly made myself comfortable on it. I noticed that Mayuko was still staring at me. You're not sleeping? It's hard to sleep with that thunderstorm still raging outside. You won't get better if you don't sleep. I know. Mayuko closed her eyes, smiling. Spent the entire day in bed, so I don't feel sleepy now. Yeah, that tends to happen when you're sick. I pulled up the sheet to cover my shoulders, still trembling from the cold. The thunderstorm appeared to have moved on to the other side of the mountain. Its booming echo could now only be heard in the distance. By the way, about that new notebook I gave you. Are you writing entries every day? Sure. Okay then. What should we talk about? I don't think chatting will help you fall asleep. I replied after a short pause. Then you can talk and I'll listen. But then I won't be able to fall asleep. Mayuko was overcome by a brief coughing fit. I decided to give in and do as she asked. What do you want to hear? Tell me about something you wrote down into your diary. I'd rather tell you about one of my trips. You seemed curious when I mentioned I was reciting them to Sanai. I think I heard Mayuko inhale a breath, but it was too dark to confirm. That sounds nice. I'd definitely love to hear it. Was what she said in the end. Alright guys, since we're at a different day in chapter... Oh god. Bro. Bro. Wait, what? How did she just disappear? I guess she got out of bed. That's what it sounded like based on the sound effects. She like woke up. Takako was like snuggling her. She's like, yeah, I'm getting out of bed. Alright, so since we're at a new day in chapter 1, and I've already been streaming for like almost 3 hours, I'm gonna end stream here. That way I could go eat and do a few other things. Because in 2 hours, we have anime night. So I gotta get some things done before anime night. Azure, I know you just got the anime night roll. We'll be watching To Your Eternity, finishing season 1 with my friend Mallet and anybody else who pops in. Ryu usually pops in as well. Foof boy. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed stream. We'll be streaming this again next Saturday. And I'll be streaming a completely new game tomorrow. So we'll be streaming again tomorrow and next Saturday and Sunday as well. I'm going to be posting another YouTube short soon, so look forward to that. If you have not seen the YouTube video that I posted earlier this morning, please check it out, comment and like if you can. And yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate interacting with all of you, chatting for a bit. Have a nice night, eat well, sleep well.